I am a descendant of the ancestry that built the first smart city in the world, and it's called Benin Kingdom. My name is Fowowe, and I'm a prince. Benin Kingdom was one of the most sophisticated kingdoms in the world in the ancient world, 1300 to 1700. Benin had a semblance of street lighting before Berlin, before New York, before London. Right? They had the best road network. If you don't dictate to people what they should call you, they will call you anything. Our children don't have a sense of history, don't have a sense of ancestry, and so people call them anything and it gets them upset. When you understand fatherhood, you may actually say that you don't want to be a father, and you'll be right, because the fact that you donated the semen doesn't make you a father. So if a man donates a seed and runs away, that's a mobile spam bank. You can't say he's a father. But manhood is identity. Husband and father are roles, and those roles are optional, and those roles have role description. You know, when I see people make statements like a man that doesn't have 30 million cannot date me, I'm asking, how much do you have? And why, if I had 30 million, why should I put it on your brain that is bringing out this kind of conversation? I will not, because I can't, intellectually, we can't be compatible. If we want to get to the marital table, you must be able to make your own money and feed your own self and an extra mouth before you show up at all. So you can't be showing up from a deficit point of view where I would have been a gambler as a child. My father will give us 5 naira, I'll be 5 kobo, 50 kobo something, 10 kobo every day, right? But the women who sell rice in our school, their rice is usually more than what my father has given me. So by Tuesday, I finished spending the money. I had 10 kobo left, and my friend said, oh, there's a place, if you put 10 kobo and you put something down, money will come. Casino. So I went in there. As I got in there, a man looked at me, and he said, are you not Fowowe's son? I said, your father does not come to a place like this. Your family members don't do this. Go home. Wow. Now, that's community parenting. So that's what we have lost, that everyone, instead of collaborating, we are now competing.
Welcome to the Honest Bunch podcast. And like I always say, the fact that you are there and we are curating great content for your viewing pleasure is what makes it perfect. Thank you so much for your support. All the suggestions with the CM, all the comments with the CM, we appreciate it. Because if you don't know they follow us back to back, you know go there as it take day. But I beg, make you help us spread that gospel. Some people go wake up on it and say, this Honest Bunch podcast, they don't used to bring women that have sense. They don't used to do that. Come on now. Just go through, just this season alone, just go through it. See the lineup where we get. Even Galacticos, not get her. Those who they watch football go understand. If you're an Arsenal fan, it might be too slow for you to. Sorry.
Get on that conjure. You did.
Sorry. So, Carabao Energy Drink, we appreciate you. Una dey our back. Una stand with us. We like them. Resida, I always tell you people, it's important. If you get money, you want to invest time. I beg, invest time for where tomorrow you know go begin to cry. Resida go give you that opportunity. And they get one product now. I've been talking about them. The product, something where they sell for X amount before. It don't reduce now. So slide enter their DM, just type Honest Bunch. That's the keyword. They will definitely give you the very best deals. Then Afri Prize. Remember, you dey go vacation, you carry handbag. You won't go use attention, people snap picture. The contract say that it no be crocodile skin, say na pomo. Some people they follow airports, they go prison now. It will not be your portion. But go on a free price, shop quality items and win fantastic prizes. Then again, do mommy the jig. I don't they call this guy name. The day when the guy go win Grammy, if they come, it's very, very close. But to balance the team, make a liver for my bros.
Do mommy the jig, please go on all social media platforms, TikTok, Snapchat. No, not Snapchat. Snapchat now where bad things happen. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Follow Do Mommy the Jig and also follow Sounds. Sounds is the new artist signed under Adult Nation Entertainment. Watch out for Do Mommy the Jig. Watch out for Sounds. All under Adult Nation Entertainment.
So let me just say this, please, parents. This episode is very, very safe for your children to watch. So just call them now. Use these 10 seconds. Call them. Say, come and sit down. You will learn something very, very important that will change your life. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Mommy. God bless you. Now, let me begin with the introduction of the amazing quartet. And respectfully, with the baby girl of Lagos.
Lily.
She's focused on personal development.
That's right.
And impacting positively the lives of people around her.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gen Z body with home training.
That's right.
100% composure and
in the
steez.
market.
The beautiful,
And
delectable.
Steez.
Deity Cole!
That's the material.
Thank you, my Bluetooth. Hi, chummies.
Hi, chummies. I miss y'all.
I missed y'all.
You miss them every week.
Yes, so every week.
She's always missing them. Ladies and gentlemen, from one beautiful Nigerian woman to another amazing Nigerian woman, Ada Chirechi. Incoming, Ada Item.
By the special grace of God.
By the special grace of God. The light has come all the way from Abia. Ladies and gentlemen, her jollof is always jolloffing. If you look at the skin, melanin popping. Ladies and gentlemen, Ezinne Posh, Ezinne Mama.
Isuka. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our eldest brother, a great man. See, come rain, come shine. This man remain.
Yes.
Old anthem, new anthem. This man remain. East or west, north or south. This man remain.
Subsidy or no subsidy.
Subsidy or no subsidy.
Minimum wage or no minimum wage.
This man remain. Drag him or not drag him. This man remain. Trending on Twitter or not. This man remains. He's the salt. He brings life. Ladies and gentlemen. Anunti, stubborn. A man of enchanting physiognomy.
Many degrees and character.
Ladies and gentlemen. Nedu was up
AKA Generator.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Nice one. Let's just keep it short.
Yeah.
I just truly Ezugu Chukudi husband material. Ezinne, please leave it. God resists the proud. I know what you can do, but leave it. So, ladies and gentlemen, our guest, hey, remember I talk from the beginning, say, I beg, may parents allow their children watch this episode. Because this thing we'll go discuss here now, even for plenty families, they're not going to teach you. Some people, they pay to learn waiting, we go learn today. And I believe that this episode will be very, very impactful. He's a teacher. And not be just those teachers where they'll say their reward is the heaven. No, this one not teacher where we say, they impact lives. And people, they learn tremendously from the teachings, valuable teachings when we say in the drop. He's an author, meaning say, with what God don't imbue him with, the blessing when God don't give up, he say, no, it's not just going to be inside me, it's also the right. So, as they talk, you they hear. As they write, you they read out. So, whichever way, if you not really feel here, you go read. You must listen to the message. Ladies and gentlemen, he advocates for children who are abused, and he go stand. And you see, when it comes to sex education, not that other one, no, where you, not the one you'll be talking about styles, no. No, not that one. Let me quickly, because some parents will say, hey, you promised us that. No, not that one. You understand? Daddy and mommy. So you are still safe. Don't worry. The Holy Spirit is in control. You are still safe. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for the one and the only, the man who comes out once in a blue moon, a man of great wealth and experience, a man that God has imbued with great wisdom and he is distributing it now. You will not see it anywhere.
Ozil.
Oh, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the one and the only Praise Fowowe.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For having me. Yes.
That surname Fowowe,
Use money, buff.
is it translated directly in the Yoruba language?
Yeah.
To bathe with money.
Yes.
Babao. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. We're really very, very grateful that you're here, that you made out time from your busy schedule. We know it's not easy. They're not, they see you up and down. So we not take them for granted. God bless you. Thank you so much. And we'll use this opportunity to say we're grateful, and may God continue to imbue you with even greater wisdom to impact lives positively.
Amen.
So quick introduction before we proceed. Now, family is the primary unit of society, and it's important that we have, solid families so that we can have a greater society. Where family don't begin spoil, society don't begin to spoil. So this conversation would address all of the issues, people who make up the family, the roles that they are expected to play, and certain gray areas that some people do not want to touch because they want to be politically correct. And I think a very good place to start is, let's begin with 3 definitions. First, what is the definition of family in the most common term possible?
Okay, so the best way to describe a family, like we say that the most important nation on earth is your family, because the family is a production factory of the society. All right, and so when you understand it from that context, you will know that a family is made up of a man and a woman who have come together to say, you know what, we want to create a new society, from this arrangement that we have. And so when people understand that, you will know that it's not an emotional decision. It's something that you need to build a system around and you need to be very intentional about. And so it becomes very critical, because if you look around the world today, there is no leader that is troubling the world that didn't emerge from a family. So every time people complain about leadership, I'm asking, what family produced him? If he's stealing, what family produced him? If he's corrupt, what family produced? If he's rigging election, what family produced him? And so there is nothing happening in the society that you can mirror from the family. And that's why we say that, it's the production factory of the society.
Good. I want to hold something dear to my heart. You said father, mother
Coming together
coming together.
in marriage.
Now, we don't define family. What is the definition of father?
Okay, so if you look at fatherhood is basically a source, all right? And that's why if you take it back to the Jewish context, the word father is the word hab, right? And so, people know that Abraham is father of something. So it's from the word hab. So a father is a source, a father is a model, is a giver of life. It's someone who gives seed that the mother incubates. And that's why it's not, the fact that you donated the semen doesn't make you a father. It's a role, because of course you have sperm banks, and it's the same way we have sperm bank, we have mobile sperm banks. So if a man donates a seed and runs away, that's a mobile sperm bank. You can't say he's a father, And so it's a role that has role description. When people talk about this whole concept, they mix up a whole lot of things. So when you talk about manhood, when you talk about who a husband is and who a father is, for example, manhood is identity. Husband and father are roles. And those roles are actually optional, right? And so when
Please
you...
say that again. Manhood is identity.
Yes, right? And husband and father are roles. And those roles are optional, and those roles have role description. Now, so if you don't meet up with the description of the roles, you can't be called to be a father, even though you may have donated semen that has produced a seed that you call a child, right? And so when people don't understand that, and even people teach it, they mix up these things. So they call, a man as a father and a husband, and they generalize a whole lot of things. And that's why we say that you can actually be, maybe a bad man and be a good father, and be a bad husband. You can be a good man and a bad father and a bad husband. You can be a good man, a good husband and a bad father. Because it's a function of the roles and your understanding of the roles. And so when people don't understand this thing, they just make sense and say, because the man is a bad man, he's a bad father. No, because your humanity is what, your identity is actually what manhood is. And that's why even the word man, is not gender-centric, is the word humanity expressed in two gender, male and female, right? And so when people don't understand the foundation, and I see a whole lot, when people talk about these things, they don't even understand the basics, and then they are teaching, and then they model up a whole lot of things, and people get confused.
There are questions I was already writing. You said a father is not gender-centric.
Yes.
That's one. But before I come to...
manhood.
Manhood is not they're not gender-centric. But before I come to manhood not being gender-centric, that's another question entirely. You said somebody can be a good father and not a good husband. Somebody can be a good husband, not a good father, and not a good... there are three, a good man. Who is a good father?
Okay.
How do you define a good father in your understanding?
Okay, so when you talk about fatherhood, like I said, it's source, right? And so a source provides direction, because again, you can't talk fatherhood and motherhood without talking parenting, right? So parenting is actually from the word bring forth, which is basically someone who can identify the potential of a child, right? And develop that potential and cultivate it till the time where you present it to the society in service to God and humanity, right? And so a father figure then becomes the one who provides the direction, who provides the structure, who provides the foundation that can promote the best interest of the child. And that is why you can't be a father and deal with insecurity or have low self-esteem or not even have enough knowledge to understand, to be able to identify your child. Because in child development or child scripting, like we call it, there are different milestones. And you need to know, you talk about, because I've been watching you and husband material since forever, right? You get into roles. So sometimes you realize that you function as sergeant, officer Jato. The other time you function
Alhaji
as
Musa.
Alhaji Musa and all the same. It's the same way this thing we're talking about it, because at different milestones in the life of a child, you need to get into character. So for example, within the first 3 years of a child's development, you are a scout. And basically what you're doing is you are observing the potential of the child and you are interpreting what the child is doing. And that's why you can't scream and yell and do all the things that people do. And so you see I was in a meeting last week and the person was saying that my 2-year-old, is doing well academically and, but then the child is stubborn. And I'm like, a 2-year-old do well academically. A 2-year-old should be playing. You should not be doing anything academical. A 2-year-old should be playing, right? And so, if you don't understand that your job is to scout and observe and interpret, right, you will be behaving, you'll get into another character that can damage the best interest of the child. Because from ages 4 to 6, you become a model. And at that age, you are modeling a whole lot of things. You model the life you want your child to live to him.
Exactly.
Right? And so if you're not a father who maybe reads hardcover books, for example, if you're always on your gadget, your child won't be on your gadget. I mean, when my son was age 6, I had pot belly. My son was having a conversation with my wife, and he said, when I grow up, my thumb will be as big as my daddy's tummy. Right? Because that was what he was seeing at that age. And so I got into the gym, and I dropped 14 kg, and I took out the pot belly, right? Because I was like, this boy doesn't even think about my intelligence. He wants to have pot belly. Now, from ages 7 to 9, you become an instructor. And that is where you need to create your own educational system that is not the conventional one that they are learning in school, right? And so you want to, and that age is where you create what we call perceptual code to say, who do you want your child to be? Because, parenting is an 18-year curriculum. What happens from age 19 is your report card, as it were, right? And so when you don't understand that, if you now get into instructional ability where you now begin to instruct your child, that's where you teach a child about contentment. That's where you teach a child, about friendship, about love, about loyalty, about several things that you need to teach, right? And then when you exit that age, you move into friendship, which is the transitional age. And why do we move into friendship in transitional age? Is because that's the age a lot of parents lose their children. When a child clocks 10 to 12, thereabout, you assume that they can take care of themselves. And that's when they have best friend. That's when they're learning new slangs. That's when they are on their own, right? And so if you are not their best friend at that age, they will literally sell you, because then you need to know their passcodes, you need to know what they are saying, you need to know some of the conversations, some of the slangs they are having and all, right? Because at that age, you want to keep your child in a place where they're emotionally accountable to you and where they can tell you what they're going through without thinking that you are going to maybe get unnecessarily upset. Because many a time, when things don't go our way, our response to a child is anger. And that's why I always say your response to your child has got to be love. Because the moment your child feels that there's a system out there that loves him or her more than you, you're likely going to lose that child. Now, from ages 13 to 18, you become a coach. At that age, you're balancing perspectives, right? At that age, because a lot of parents struggle with their teenagers, because when they have teenagers, they don't have respect for the teenagers because they are still looking at the teenagers through the prism of the child they gave birth to. Now, at that age, your child is going to disagree with you. His perspective is going to be different from you. So your job is to balance perspective and help them arrive at a decision that is their own best interest. Now, if you have done the right job from the beginning, when you get to that age, you won't have a problem because your child already knows that my daddy loves me, right? And so when people are absent or when people don't understand the role, they won't. In fact, I always say to people that when you understand fatherhood, you may actually say that you don't want to be a father, and you'll be right, because it's a whole lot of work, right? And you need to sit down and you're literally raising a human being, right, who you're going to present to society. That's why the Jews have a concept they call bat mitzvah, wherein at the age of 14, you're actually literally bringing your child to the society and you are putting your hand on the child to say, this is my beloved child, I gave birth to this one, I produced this one, right? And so that is why I often, cringe when I see people just think that, fatherhood is, I can provide money, right? Fatherhood is, I can pay school fees. Fatherhood is, I gave birth to you. No, it doesn't work that way because it's a whole lot of things to unpack, and you actually need to sit down and learn what it takes to get into those various characters at various milestones in the life of a child.
The way you are saying all this, and as you are talking, talking, it's making me feel, we don't lose. Because the truth is, there's one thing that you said that strikes out, which is the way he's going to raise his child doesn't have to be the way you are going to raise your child. How do we? Because I see it. I see someone telling, "Oh, can't you see this person? Can't you see this person's child?" What's the best way to go about that?
I wanted to say that's the same thing you said, and I wanted to even ask him: is there a manual?
So there is a manual, but that manual is not rigid. Right? Because you need to understand that, we're from different cultures and from different persuasion. But the most important thing is every child is unique. And if you can't pick the signal that child is sending to you, you're going to damage it. I'll give you an example. When my son was 3, he was in a crèche. And they called me that I was destructive. That was the word they used. And that's why I always say to parents, your child's teacher must not know about your child more than you. And what did they call destructive? They said he will come to school and then he was breaking people's pencils. So I went to school. The first thing I did, I said, let me come and observe. Right? And so I got into school and I dropped him and I observed the first thing that happened was that he got in there and he asked everyone in that crèche, can you bring your pencil? And all of them willingly surrendered their pencil. Leadership was what I saw. Right, this is an influencer. Then the next thing they gave him the pencils. Then he hit it on, the piece of wood, and then it started to break. I knew that it was playing drum set. So I saw it. So I actually asked them, I would buy packs of pencil and come and for those who was bringing them. And I took him, the moment I picked him in the afternoon, I took him to a place where they were buying drum sets and I bought him drum set. That was the last time he broke pencil.
Wow.
Now, some parents will not be able to interpret that accurately and they will say, based on the intelligence the teacher has given them, they begin to beat the child. They say you are destructive. They begin to send him to all kinds of people. And so you see a whole lot, the way we interpret, right? Another instance is where I tell parents, if you walk into a room and you have your 4-year-old with your new iPhone, and the boy has literally, there's water all around your house and your iPhone is in that water and the child is playing there, what are you going to do? The response is to beat the child. As if the child sat down and said, today, I am going to flood this house and I'm going to put my mommy's phone. No, the child is not thinking that way. And that's why we say you cannot raise a child thinking like an adult. You first need to think like a child. Right? To say what's going on in the mind of this child. And by the time you pieces that information and put it together, it was possible that maybe you went for a meeting and someone's house and the child saw a swimming pool in the sitting room and is trying to replicate it. Right? And so if you don't understand and observe, you are going to damage the child. And so what I always say to people is this, you see, principles are universal, application is different. And so you need to be able to ask, who is my own child? One. Then, as a family, what type of outcome, what kind of children do we want to send to the society? So you can have and say, for example, that as a family, we want to send out activists or we want to send out royalties and things like that. Because every family has got what we call their superpower. Now, unfortunately, we have used religion to mess it up. So if you go back to your ancestry, your lineage, there is something that is common to everyone in your lineage. All the men, for example, if you mention the unequivocally, for example, they are activists, right? There are other families, it's industry. Some other families is teaching. Some other families is journalism, all kinds of things. Now, that DNA exists. In fact, some families is priesthood. But because someone has told them, your great-grandfather was an Ifa priest, so that is demonic. No. What was an Ifa priest doing in that age and time pre-Christianity? It was standing between man and God. So you will raise children who actually have the DNA of, they are futurists. They can actually see things. Yeah, they are intercessors. It's there in them. But if you kill it and you now say, you know what, we belong to Abraham. Abraham is our father. Abraham, your children can't connect with that. And so what people need to do is to assess their family history and ancestry and now create their own story that is believable. And I'll give you an example. One day I was in the US and I was having a meeting and it was an all-white meeting. I was the only black man in the meeting. And then it was time for me to introduce myself and someone just made a racial slur and said, black man, introduce yourself. But I wasn't moved, right? Because my father raised me to tell me that I was from Idoani in Ondo State. My mother raised me to tell me that she was from Ikpele. But when I began to do my research, I went deep and I realized that Idoani was founded by the son of King Eware from Edo State. My mother's hometown was also founded by another, prince from Edo. So I'm from Edo. So I began to dig deep into Edu ancestry, and I realized that Benin Kingdom was one of the most sophisticated kingdoms in the world in the ancient world, 1300 to 1700. Benin had a semblance of street lighting before Berlin, before New York, before London. Right? They had the best road network. So I stood up at the meeting and I said, I am a descendant of the ancestry that built the first smart city in the world, and it's called Benin Kingdom. My name is Fowowe, and I'm a prince. The entire room went quiet. During tea break, everyone came to me to say, can you tell us more about Benin Kingdom? I said, Google is your friend. Check it. And so they started asking me, what about the Benin world? Is it still standing? And blah, 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 blah. Right. Why was I able to do that? I tapped into my ancestry. I knew who I was. And so whatever you call me, because if you don't dictate to people what they should call you, they will call you anything.
They'll call you anything.
And so our children don't have a sense of history, don't have a sense of ancestry. And so people call them anything and it gets them upset. And so what I always say is that there is a template and you can copy that template. For example, the Jews have a template. I work with Indians and I work with Jews and I work with Japanese. Now, I was working with the Indians and I realized a concept called fraternity. And I wanted to know, why is it that the Indians are able to collaborate? For example, we're going to get a house in Canada. And we saw a house that had 11 Indian families. And so, bed was everywhere. Under the staircase, bed was. So I had to ask them, why is there bed everywhere? And they told me that when they got to Canada, they realized that it would cost $2,700 to rent an apartment. And they felt, why would 11 families be giving $2,700 to different people? So they decided to stay together, right? And so each family was paying like $270 per month. And so they said they took a decision that until the 11th family got their third house, they will not leave. So I said, why are you guys leaving? They said the 11th family just got their third house. And so where are you guys going? They said, we're going to replicate the model. So I began to dig, why are you guys able to do this? And they said there's a concept in India called fraternity that every family is taught. That the only place you have to, compete against yourself as Indians is within India. Once you step out of India, you have to extend the boundaries of India to the rest of the world. Now, that is an intentional system. If you check the Japanese have 7 national values. It is taught to every family. The educational system is built on it. So when you hire a Japanese, he's going to recommend his brother to you because it's part of what is taught. Right? And so what has happened over time is we have a parenting model that worked, but we didn't document it. Or maybe we documented it and during slave trade it was lost. And so what we say to people right now is, you need to follow the template that works, but then you now adapt to your own reality. Because, for example, children will come in 4 formats. You will have a child that is an intimidating child. An intimidating child is the child who is likely going to argue with you. The child, you can't even win him in argument.
Ask questions about everything.
He will be assistant daddy.
Why?
If you put him in a group, he will be self-appointed class captain. Right? It's a natural leader. There is that thing in him. But people, if you are not careful, society will call him arrogant, pride, especially if he's a female child. They'll say he's saucy, he doesn't listen to anybody. But that's an intimidating child. Those are the ones who set up conglomerates. Then you have the creative child. Creative child is a child who, if you have any child who is always looking for shoe and socks, shoe is to the right, socks is to the left, he wears a shoe to church, he never comes, maybe he wears somebody, or he comes with legs back home. If he has a homework on Friday, he will tell you he doesn't have. He's completely forgotten. On Monday is when he remembers, right? And so it's a creative convertible, right? And so if you look at that child, you say he's lying. You say is this, is that, and you begin to beat him because you don't understand his power. Those children, naturally, they command following. If it's a female, it's going to attract more male people. If it's a male, it's going to attract more women. But you have the dependable truck, who is slow and steady. He never talks, hides himself. He doesn't even want to be part of anything. If you say start anything, he's not going to start. But when he starts, you are sure he's going to finish, right? But you have the systematic Ford, who is the perfectionist. Systematic Ford, if you have any child who's always talking about my cup, my daddy, my mommy, my this, my that, that's a systematic Ford. He's a perfectionist. Their intelligence is captured in numbers, right? And so that child naturally has a bit of low self-esteem because they don't like to share, right? And so if you don't understand the different personalities of these children, because you will see it as they're growing up, what you will do is you'll be trying to generalize their tendency and you will damage them. For example, you can shout on an intimidating Oma because they can wear house. You can't shout on a dependable truck because the dependable truck is already introverted. If you shout on him, you kill them further, and so they keep away from you.
They're recluse.
And so when parents make that mistake, when the predator shows up and begins to give him a bit of identity or give her a bit of identity to say, I love you here, they will do anything to stay in there, including giving away their sexuality.
So, okay, Ezinne. Go.
I don't know if what I want to ask is too close, but I'd ask it as it came to me.
Go ahead.
These things you said, sir, they are so beautiful.
Thank you.
But I'm asking, how does a father or a father figure navigate and be able to do at least even 80% of these things that you have mentioned effectively with work stress, emotional stress, because sometimes you might have issues with your wife and
Financial stress.
The world at large is
External
crazy. External pressure.
Yes.
How?
It's very simple. There is a lost art in African parenting. We quote it, we say it, but we have not systemized it. It takes a village to raise a child. When I was going to get married, we had a family constitution because every family I teach them have a family vision, family values, DNA creed of your family, legends of your family, your family culture, and they have your family constitution. Our family constitution
No,
is
please, sir, say that again. But
Because
slowly.
a lot of people don't
Because-
know it.
So
People are jotting.
every family needs a
Before
family
you get
vision.
married or when you're married.
Before you get married, actually.
Okay.
You should have it. Because what usually happens is, the guy has an idea of the family he wants to build. The woman has a different idea. So, for example, let's say she's your wife. You guys are a couple. And I ask her, what is your family vision? And she says her family vision is to raise a godly family. And I ask you, and you say, it's to build a prosperous family. Even though both of you mean well, but you're headed in different direction. Yes. And so when couples are headed in different direction and they're holding themselves, there will always be friction because they are trying to help the family go in a different direction. That's what they call argument and friction. Then after a while, it's that one person will force the other person and that person is reluctant. And so after a while, if the person starts to listen, do your truth, live your life, do whatever you like, she breaks herself free. That's what they call divorce. So what we say is, can you both write down your ideal family? And when you both write it out, from what is common, you make a vision statement out of it. It becomes the type of family you want to build, right? Then you now distill that into your family values. And so to say, we're going to have 5 values and there's a way to structure that. Then you now do the DNA creed of your family, which is your values made into a statement. For example, I'm leading a group. We have 5 values: trustworthiness, worship, influence, responsibility, and love. Now, for us to make that into a DNA creed, which our children recite, you now hear things like, I'm a symbol of trust and I'm trustworthy. Whatever goes out of me must pass the test of worship unto God. I influence my sphere with superior values everywhere I go. I am responsible and I take responsibility for whatever happens in me and around me. I am love and heaven is what you experience when you encounter me. Now, when the child does something that is wrong, let's say he does homework and the homework is not right and he brings it. The question I'm asking him is, I'm not getting angry. Can this homework pass the test of worship unto God? So the child looks at it and says, it's not excellent enough. Okay, let me go and do the one that can pass the test of worship unto God. Right? So that's the DNA creed. Then you do your legends, which is the believable story. See, I always tell people, Britain is one of the best storytelling nations on earth. They will script what doesn't exist and you will believe that it exists. Right? And so it means you can actually create your own believable story, which your children can repeat. I mean, I went to Greece. When they tell you the Greek myth and mythology, it won't make sense to you. Right? And so we need to have our own in your family. Then you can now create your family constitution to now say, this is how we're going to live together. For example, if I want to take a second wife right now, it's there in our constitution. I can take a second wife, but we need to subject it to a vote in the family. The eligible voters is my wife and my children, right? Majority must carry the vote for me to take a second wife. How am I going to win that election, right? So it's already there. But part of what is there in our constitution is we must always live in an estate that has 3 of our friends who share our family values. That's where I'm going. Now, we know that we say it takes a village to raise a child. We can't be going back to our villages, but we are 5 here right now. 5 of us, if we have the same ideology, we can become a village. So what now happens is Nedu has to travel because of his work. Husband material had to travel because of their work. I am available. Yes. I take responsibility for the children.
And we have the same values.
The same values.
So even when they're friends with their children.
Yes, so they know that if I correct them, they can't report me to their father. I always tell people, I would have been a gambler as a child. my father will give us five naira, I'll be 5 kobo, 50 kobo, something, 10 kobo every day, right? But the women who sell rice in our school, their rice is usually more than what my father has given me. So by Tuesday, I finished spending the money. I had 10 kobo left, and my friend said, "Oh, there's a place. If you put 10 kobo and you put something down, money will come." Casino. So I went in there. As I got in there, a man looked at me and he said, "Are you not Fowowe, son?" I said, "He said, your father does not come to a place like this. Your family members don't do this. Go home." Wow. Now, that's community parenting.
Values.
So that's what we have lost, that everyone, instead of collaborating, we are now competing. To now say, you know what, my father has a better car than your car and blah, 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 blah. But 5 of us is a community already. So if 2 of you are out, your children are safe with me because I'm going to take care of them as my own. I went into a particular estate, and as I got into the estate, the first thing I did was I told the parents, I am now in this estate. Can you send all your children to me and I'll teach them sexuality education? They were all excited because they knew my reputation. So they were sending their children, I was teaching them. But I wasn't helping them. I was helping my own children because my children are going to be relating with their own children. So I took responsibilities for their own children. I see those children right now. Some of them are in uni. And they were like, Uncle Praise, thank you. You taught us this and taught us that. And they will remind me of the things I taught them. Right. And so it is not difficult to do if we build systems. Because let me tell you, Nigeria is hard and the world is tough. You cannot by yourself do many of these things alone, right? Or else you're just going to kill yourself. And that is why you now need to have your own tribe who share your values, who you have uniform vision, right? And so you are doing exchange, information exchange. So if you can call village meeting, you can invite people. Indians do these things. You see them raise their children together. Chinese have done it. Jews have done it. Why can't we do it?
There's another question I want to ask. Like, brah, this things you're saying is making it look like we don't even know what we're doing. Now, as you're talking, you now understand that it's not just poor, give your sperm,
Please.
make person born. You have to understand what it takes to be a father.
Yes.
You have to understand the responsibilities. All these things you're saying are part of the responsibilities of being a father. And you as a lady, you not go just like man because, he's a handsome man. He speaks well. He has money. He gives me 20 million. He does this one every time. He does this one. You have to also put into consideration all these things. Which brings me to this question. I mean, just like Ezinne said, we have to bring it to this thing now. The Honest Bunch, we pride ourselves as people that teach people think that they learn. You have to leave every episode with something that you will learn and will change your life. For anybody that wants to pick a wife, for anybody that wants to pick a husband, what is the important questions that you need to ask? Not be whether you get money, because as far as I'm concerned, based on all things you're saying, the money and all those things are all secondary.
Yes.
Because you're raising a society.
Yes.
You're raising a community. What is the important questions? What are the things that you should look out for?
I have a default, and my default has always been, if you are not independent, you can't be interdependent. So what that means is, if we want to get to the marital table, you must be able to make your own money and feed your own self and an extra mouth before you show up at all. So you can't be showing up from a deficit point of view where, when I see people make statements like, a man that doesn't have 30 million cannot date me, I'm asking, how much do you have? And why, if I had 30 million, why should I put it on your brain that is bringing out this kind of conversation? Right? I will not, because intellectually, we can't be compatible. And so, I don't blame people. A lot of errors have been taught over time. And so, when people have been taught a lot of errors, they will think that they are coming into marriage for someone to complete them. And that's one of the errors that has been taught. So you will hear errors like, the first, women are emotional, men are logical. That's not correct. Every human being has logic and emotion. The one you have utilized the most is the one that becomes pronounced.
Dominant.
Right? And so when people don't understand the basics of relationship, to say, I am going into marriage because I'm creating a new society, then you would think is all money. And that's why they get all money, they get them. It means if you're even saying that 30 million, it means that a ritualist can actually get you. That's what it means. It means you have a price, right? And so, before people get married, I always say that don't get married don't even ask anyone out without asking yourself out. Because that's where it starts from. So I ask, if you're going on a window shopping and you see yourself being displayed, will you buy yourself?
Tell yourself the truth.
That's where it starts from. And so, if you can't buy yourself, why would you want someone else to ask you out? Right? And so, self-evaluation. Number 2, I think people need to heal from their trauma before they even show up. Because a lot of people are walking trauma. And so, and you know, it's so interesting that, you know, in the olden days, our parents didn't do courting and dating and many of these things. But you know why some of their marriages worked? Because every family prioritized parenting and raising a child properly.
Yeah.
So you knew the families that they would even tell you don't marry from this family because this is the kind of people they are, right? It's intentionality, right? And so people need to heal because I work with people that most of the time people in America, they want to get married and I'm doing their premarital. And after running a series of assessment, they see themselves that they can't marry or they want to postpone their wedding. And they're very honest with themselves. They say, we're going to kill ourselves. There are assessments that can dictate a wife beater. There are assessments that can, we have all those psychometry that can dictate someone that is going to kill you in a relationship. And it's not that he's planning to kill you, but the trauma in his life has not been healed. And so when people don't heal, they will mean well, but they will self-sabotage. And so I say to people, marry your kind. Don't even marry opposites. Marry someone who share your values. Right? And so I always start with, don't just go because what is the friendship level? Right? Who are the people that can call him to order? I'm not going to allow anybody marry anyone that doesn't have an authority figure over his life who can call him to order. So people come and say, you know what, I'm accountable to God. Go and get a written statement from God, signed by God, to say we can report you to him. Because there must always be at every point in your life someone you defer to. Who can say to you, Nedu, sit down, and you're going to sit down, you won't even argue. Right? And that is what we now lack. And that's why when people are married and they now have issues and they now take their matters on social media, I'm asking, where is the elder in this family? Where are the mentors? Who are the people they defer to? So when someone doesn't have accountability, don't even deal. Because they're going to become monsters. Right? Marriage is a system and no one is permitted to outgrow the system. Once someone outgrows that marital system, the person is going to make your life miserable, whether male or female. Right? And so, when it comes to marriage, analyze yourself. Who am I? Right? Where am I going? Then what quality of people do I need to go on this journey with me? And I'll tell you this, and it's sad. You know, I see a lot of mature ladies who can marry, and then I'm working with them and I'm realizing that wrong virus has been sold into their brain. Right? So many people say they want to marry, but they want to marry a tribe, not a human being. And so I'm working with a 40-something-year-old, and he's saying, you know, all the men I'm meeting, Say, why are you marrying? Why do you want to marry this man? Say, it's from my hometown.
Okay, so that explains that. Because when you say marry a tribe, you know, when it comes to, I don't know whether I go say religion. There's a something tribe, David tribe.
No.
So what they quote is, do not be unequally yoked together with an unbeliever.
Okay.
So let me explain that. An unbeliever is someone who does. It's an English word. It's not a religious word. It means someone who doesn't believe what you believe. So Nedu believes that everyone, both of us, must work, but she believes that his money is our money. My money
is my money.
That's unequal yoke. That's an unbeliever to Nedu. So Nedu must now find someone who believes what he believes to marry. If he marries that girl, that's unequal yoke. Right? She may believe that everybody should cook. If husband material doesn't believe I should cook, it's an unbeliever. Unbeliever doesn't mean he's a bad person. It just means that we don't align. So to go and marry that person is unequal yoke. Right? And so you see people getting married, entangled with people that are even not at their level. And it's shameful that people force people to marry people who, and I'm asking the question, what premarital counseling did they go through? Right? Because premarital counseling must not be subjective. There are assessments you can run right now that will show these people should not get married. Right? It will show the trauma points in their lives. But then, because we want to populate something, people want to dance to the altar, so they plan for wedding without a plan for marriage. So there are people who have money, but they can't handle a marriage. because you don't even know what it takes, right? And so you want to get into marriage, you are asking a question, you want to marry a husband, is this guy a bridegroom? Because the word husband is the groomer of a bride.
Explain further, sir.
So the word husband, you say is a bridegroom.
It's a bridegroom.
Bridegroom is the groomer of a bride. So does he have the capacity
To groom the bride.
groom you and set you free to become the best version of you? So he's looking at you right now and he's thinking of
train you.
kitchen. He's thinking of kitchen. He's thinking of food. He's going to cook for me. He's a cook. He wants to marry. He doesn't want to marry a human being.
There's something I pointed out from what you said, and I want to thank you very much. You said he's going to groom you,
Yes.
which means you're not coming to him as somebody that's already a finished product. I know that nobody is coming to each other as a
Yes.
finished product, but what I picked out was I'm flawed.
Yes.
I'm probably more flawed than you are. I'm probably more vulnerable than you are. I'm probably the weakest in the room. And you as a person, that means you're stronger.
Yeah.
So when I'm trying to pick a husband, I'm trying to go for somebody that's stronger than me emotionally, physically,
And-
financially.
Yeah.
And
But
in addition-
not necessarily. I think that, you see, all the things you've talked about are things that you can fix by yourself.
Because you said grooming. If you're
Yes.
grooming, it means the person is somewhat immature.
No.
Okay.
You
Explain. That's why I said explain
so you
further.
can, Nedu is here right now, right? Nedu is a superstar. But there are people who are higher than him who will look at him and they say it's not finished and they will groom him to become world class. So Nedu is now doing honest bunch, maybe at CNN level.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you get? So basically, a husband, like remember I said, is a role, right? So if the guy, and who is a groomer? A groomer cannot be insecure. A groomer cannot have low self-esteem. You can't be looking at your wife right now and your wife says, I want to be United Nations Secretary General, and you are thinking, no, who will be cooking for me? That's not a groomer. And in fact, the easiest way to understand a groomer, if you're a football fan, is to say that your husband is supposed to be the
Coach.
Sir Alex Ferguson to a Cristiano Ronaldo.
Thank you very much
Coach.
for that example.
He done do.
Because it's an
He
example that
done
people
do.
can
As a
relate to.
material.
If we had said an Ateta to Saka, it wouldn't have
As a
worked.
material.
I want to pick out
Yeah.
something from the one you said way back. Okay, so you said something about marriages, then they were intentional about
Parenting.
parenting, right? Marriages now, people then, not all of them survived that marriage.
Yes.
Like, not everybody.
Yes.
And the marriages now in the 21st century, they're also intentional
Yes.
about their parenting. Do you think that was what put everybody together back then? That was what made them last? Because that was what you said.
No,
What made the marriage last then? But people are doing it now and marriages are still not
No,
lasting.
so if you check the way they were raised and the way we are raised, it's a different ballgame.
So which one is better?
I'll give you an example. You know, when people say to me that they stopped stealing when they got born again, I'm always shocked. Because I don't steal. Because my father conditioned me not to steal. He did it in a crude way, which I won't probably do with my son. But my father sends you to his room and he puts a coin on his table. And he will use a pencil to circle the coin. You wouldn't even know. If your hand mistakenly moves the coin out of the circle, he calls it attempted stealing. My father will almost kill you. Then he will ask you to put your hand in your pocket. By the time he said, when you make the money, when you steal the money that is not yours, it tears your pocket, and when you make your money, it never stays.
When you steal the money that is not
It
yours.
tears your pocket, and when you make your own, it never stays.
Oh, politicians.
My father taught us punctuality. He would say to you that it's arrogance for the people to be waiting for you, that humility is when you are waiting for them. So I'd never had a problem with lateness because my father taught me. Do you get? Now, what do they teach their children right now? And the society we lived in then, you know, it was and you know, when I see parents afraid, fearful, we didn't have GSM, we didn't have mobile phones, but we left home in the morning. Our parents trusted us to return at night. But now you have 14-year-old who can go from VI to the mainland. So I don't do bridges. I don't do third mainland. Right? And so, if we have to be honest, parenting has failed.
True. I agree.
And that's why you realize that, because I was growing up in Nigeria, if you were someone who was stealing, you couldn't brag. If you were a side chick, someone is buying you. My sister was working in the bank. My sister bought herself a car, brought the car home, asked my dad to come and bless the car. My father refused to come down. You know what my father told her? I know your salary. And by my calculation of your salary, you shouldn't be able to afford this car. Where did you get it from? My sister now had to explain that she got a loan. She said, can I see the document of the loan? But you know what it is right now? You buy a car for your mother, she starts to dance. She's not even asking where you're making the money from. Parenting failed. And so what we need to do is to now begin to prioritize intentional parenting, because you see, the quality of marriage, there's nothing called bad marriage. You only have dysfunctional people getting married and now upsetting the relationship. Because if you're already dysfunctional, so you're already coming to get married to me because of what you stand to get, that I'm going to give you a house, I'm going to buy you a car, you already have your wish list. You already failed. Because you lack content. In fact, you're going to be comparing me. Somebody bought something for this person. That's why part of what we tell people is before you marry someone, check their family and check their family values. Very key. It's part of what I think our parents, before you get married, they'll go and check the family.
Yes.
Maybe they were checking it the wrong way. But it's background check. That's what HR companies do. If I'm going to hire you, we have to do background check. But we now say, boy meets girl. We don't need to check anything. No, we need to check you out. We need to check your patterns. We need to check how you relate with your parents. Because you may slap my parent. Maybe you have been slapping your own parent. And that's why I say to people, you are dating a guy, you go visit him, and maybe his younger sister insults you, then he slaps his younger sister. And you are excited about it. The guy is communicating something that he lacks the capacity to handle issues through diplomacy, that it must be through violence. So when he marries you and he starts to beat you, say, I didn't see it coming. No, if he beats for your sake, he will beat you very soon.
So how do you miss it, honestly. Please, you just follows up with this thing that was said. You kept saying they used to.
Yeah.
The generation before, they were raised, how they were raised, how you were raised, how others were raised. At what point did we miss it? Because is it not our great-great-great-grandfathers that raised our great-grandfathers that also raised our grandfathers that raised our fathers that raised us? And we are going to raise others.
Yes.
At what point did this change happen?
I think I was born 1978. So I'm 46, thereabout. And so I know a bit about Nigeria. It wasn't as if they were perfect. And so let's not pretend as if they were perfect, right? They were not. But it was a saner society. We didn't even have Pentecostalism. We had orthodoxy.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you saw your priest. Your priest was contented. Your priest was a human being you could touch, you could question them. They never got angry. Right? And so the things we had, the TV series we watched, the stories they told us, for example, if you were from the southwestern part of the country, you would have stories of Ijakpa and Yonibo. That was how we learned moral values. So we didn't have 24 hours TV. Now, times have changed, and I don't necessarily look at this new generation and I wish we go back to the past. But you see, we have not risen to the modern day demands to articulate as a people, who are we? Now, the first language I learned was Yoruba. It wasn't English, right? And I'm sure some of us here, maybe the first language you learned was Igbo or something. But now our children are learning English as a first language and they don't speak our mother tongue. Now, once your language is lost, once your history is lost, history was taken out of our school.
Yes.
Once your education is lost, or once it's borrowed, what do you have left? Nothing. So what begins to happen to you is that there's an imbalance in your system and there's a vacuum crying out for identity. And in the absence of that, whatever you see in the hair is what defines your identity. And I think that was what we did not do right. In fact, if there's anything I think we missed in Nigeria, documentation. If there was anything the Jews got right, they documented and they gave us a Bible. I wish we had our own Bible and we documented some of the things that stood us and we passed them from generation to the other. I had to go and dig deep to understand my family lineage and my family history. My father didn't tell me, right? And so that is where, I think it was from 1985 when Babangida took over or something, things went, values, that was the era where bribery and, because before then, they want to kill a thief who stole, you go to Babich to watch.
Yes.
They face firing squad.
Yes. They were shot publicly.
They were shot publicly, and your parents will be telling you that's what will happen to you if you steal.
And your family members are disgraced for life.
Exactly.
Shame.
Right? But it now became a free-for-all. And, once you have broken down the educational system, you've broken down the history, you've broken down all these things, what you have left will be a free-for-all. And that was how, personally, that's what I think happened to us. And that's how we got here.
There's a question I need to ask. Yes. I mean, I have written like 11 questions.
You passed 6 today.
It's a lot. I'm sorry. The way when you keep talking, if I have to keep it for 6 hours, it will not be enough. How do you outgrow the marriage system as a man and as a woman?
Okay, so if we have an agreement, for example, and so we say, so I always say something humorously that there is no man that is looting, or there is no man that is rigging election at the National Assembly that didn't start by rigging from his family. And it's very simple. You drink and you get drunk and you disturb the neighborhood. One man. He has 3 children, 1 wife. And sweetheart says, sweetheart, you are disturbing the neighborhood. Please, can you stop for your liver so that you don't die young? And 3 children come and say, Daddy, can you stop drinking? And the man still insists he must keep drinking. You know what happened? The election already held. 1 person was for drinking, 4 people were against drinking, yet he continued to drink, which means 1 was greater than 4 in his family. If he gets to National Assembly, 4 will be greater than 19. It's a pattern. So the moment your family members can't even call you to order, if we all agree this is what we're going to do, and you choose unilaterally to do something outside of that, and there is no consequence, then you're about growing the family system.
Baba, no verse. As you don't ask one, me I ask one. We have spoken so much about values, and when we talk about values, we're looking at worth, usefulness, something that we consider very, very important. Yes. Now, I would like to ask, given how things change, is it possible for values to change? Is it possible that, this is the 21st century? The way when the thing take day before, not be so now. Is it possible, or it's an excuse that people make up because they want to have their way?
So when your value is not, and I'll tell you something about the Indian, I learned a lot from the Indian culture. We had a conference that was over up in Nigeria, and I invited an Indian man leader in Nigeria because I wanted to have a fireside chat with him. And I said something I noticed about India is that every nation whose culture is tied to their religion, they are very difficult to manipulate.
Every nation whose
culture is tied to their religion.
Religion and beliefs.
So you know that India was colonized by British.
Yes.
British, yes.
But you won't see a lot of British in them.
Yes.
Because Indians have a religion called Hinduism.
Yes.
It was a religion they created by themselves. And their culture is built on it. Right? And so once your beliefs are very strong and is at the core of your essence, it's very difficult for you to manipulate. Nigeria does not have that. And so divide and rule became, it's everybody. So that's what is happening. That what we call our values. So for example, if you go to National Assembly and ask, who is a Nigerian? What defines a Nigerian? Can you give us the national values of Nigeria? If you ask 35 senators, they will give you 35 different things. And that's where it starts from. That when you don't know what makes you who you are, then there will be an imbalance in your system. And this is what... So when you see that they bring... during the World Cup, they were all going to Qatar. And Qatar gave them rules and regulations that there are things you can't bring here.
Yes.
Right? That's because they knew who they were. To say, you know what, this will not fly. And so you couldn't go and display some funny flags in there. You couldn't. Because their culture is embedded in their religion. Right? That's how things are supposed to be. But you see, when anything flies from America, we just take it and say, okay, we will do it better than them. Because, let me tell you, the way the world is structured, there's only one battle in the world, it's the cultural battle. There are cultures seeking to overpower the other cultures. So cultures that are not built on system will be taken over by cultures that are built on systems. And so the system is coming to you, gone were the days, there was a time nobody could dress naked in nudity, right? We didn't see it here. But as we began to watch American movie, say, if they can do it, we can do it. If they can do it, we can do it. And because our culture was not strong enough, and that's why I say to people, you see, how I know that you don't even exist, you have identity crisis is, if you leave Nigeria and go to the US, and you spend 1 week, and you start to rap, I wanna, you don't exist.
Oi, mate.
You don't exist. Because
Oi, mate.
you meet Indians who have been in the US for 25 years. You can still feel the Indian accent.
They still do like this.
Right? But even Tunisia, you go to Tunisia and you are I wanna.
Benin, you come to Tunisia, Benin Republic.
It's the clearest indicator that you don't exist. And once you don't exist, a whole lot of things will go wrong. And I think that's where the problem is.
You know, this thing you just said now, just struck something in me. And talking about values, you cannot make excuses for it.
Yes.
You gave the example of Qatar.
Yeah.
Do you know that the Japanese, when they went to the World Cup
Yes.
in Qatar,
Yes.
after the games,
They
will
clean the
begin
stadium.
to pick up.
Clean.
That's who
Yes.
they are.
They'll begin to pick
Yes.
up items.
Yes.
And some people ask them, why are you people doing this? They paid people. They're like, this is who we are.
It's a national culture. My friend was in Tokyo, Fisayo. He went to eat. And by the time he finished at the eatery, of course, in Nigeria, you drop your plate. Right? And an elderly man came to pick his plate and went to wash. So he went to engage the man that, do you work? I said, no, I came to eat. I noticed that you're not Japanese. That's why you drop your plate. Because here, we take responsibilities for public properties as if it were ours. He said he looked at the man and he asked for his name. He said when he got his name, he Googled him and realized there was a billionaire.
Yo!
Hey,
No verse, baby. Baba, you will continue from your second question now. But is it possible?
we have them more.
Yes. Is it possible? Is it possible that, I'm just trying to see if there's an excuse. Is it possible that because certain things changed, and that is why we went from it takes a community to raise a child to consign me or anything where you see you go take them? Because I remember growing up in Isolo, people who reside in that axis, we know that James Oni Lamino Lawa or Remeji, Alaja Sadiq, she used to be a retired primary school headmistress. If your parents use Alaja Sadiq threaten you, you go behave yourself.
Yeah.
You go, and she was somebody who sometimes, based on say, we just won't be bad boys. Even though our parents know bad like that, we just want spoil. Make it be like, say, we follow spoil. If Alaja, they come like this, we go hide. Because it is where Alaja, they ask you now, you don't do your homework. Alaja, no, they ever ask you, say, Alaja, no, they ask you flexing question. Now, academic question, Alaja, they always they ask. So, now, waiting, the children, when one spoil, don't know her. Once we don't see her from far, because we never do homework, we go hide. But in this age and time, we don't really have that. Because even in schools, they will warn you. Don't be beat. Don't discipline.
Yeah.
Don't scold. Scold, don't enter. Don't scold Jason. Because it shouldn't.
Jaden.
Don't scold Jaden. His parents don't like that.
Yeah.
And so we now have a society where if you want spoil.
Yeah.
But we forget that our children, like you said, would interact with these children and they might become victims of these children that we leave to become bad people.
Yeah.
So in our society now, how do we get to that point where...
It's interesting you talk about the school system. I don't know any sane society that private schooling is the primary source of education for their people. Check the UK, Canada, America. It's public schools. If you go to private, it's by choice. It's not because that's the default. But here, private school is the default right now. Right? And so the people that couldn't manage the public schools properly are the ones who set up private schools. And so they've given you options to say, do whatever you like. So you discipline a child, the parents are going to go to school to say they want to, and they will live stream the school. All right? How do you even do that? So you mentioned the Elijah
Sadiq.
I'll tell you what
Rest
the
in
Indians
peace.
would have done, or the other cultures. There's an Elijah. They will not see a person, they will see a system. And so, as Elijah is saying, they are looking who will be the next Elijah when Elijah passes. Right? So, and that's the thing. We don't pass the baton. We don't replicate ourselves because there is something in our leadership that makes us think that, if it's not us, there's no other person that can do it.
Yeah.
Right? And so we don't see, I always tell I left Nigeria maybe 4 years ago. And before I left, everything I knew, I taught my people. So when I left, they didn't feel that I left. Because they could do everything. I put everything on slide. There's a system for everything. Right? So when they are delivering speeches, people don't even miss me. because I thought, and so people used to tell me, Praise, why are you teaching them? Trade secret. I say a candle loses nothing by lighting other candles.
A candle loses nothing
by lighting other
candles.
candles.
You're only helping yourself
Right?
when you go
And
off.
that's how to grow. Right? So that Elijah has not been built into a system. And that is why I think we need to find a way to begin to make these things work. When people say to me, sometimes parents in North America, they reach out to me when their children have problems. And they're saying to me, Praise, I'm dying. My children don't do anything. And I'm saying, are you pretending that these children fell from the sky? How did you socialize them? Everybody cooks in my family. I have 2 children, 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. They've been cooking since age 7. Right? In fact, my son did not know that in some families, women are the ones who cook. Until he got to primary 3, social studies textbook, where he read that daddy's job is to provide money, mommy's job is to cook. And it was a major problem in his school because he said, no, this is not right. In our home, my daddy cooks, everybody cooks, human beings eat, human beings should cook. Right? So they learned how to wash plates, how to do dishes. So by the time we were abroad, it wasn't a problem. So when I see other people, because our people, for example, my daughter came, our constitution says you don't get a phone until you are 13. You don't. And for you to get a phone, it's not your phone. We gave you that phone on trust, so you can't password it. You can't create your own password because you don't have capacity to maintain a phone. It's my phone given to you. So you can't password it. And you must submit your phone 8 p.m. Your phone can't go with you to the room. So those rules are stated. If you can't submit the phone, then you won't need a phone. Right? And so my daughter came and said, Dad, there's a boy in my class, he was 7. Said she got a phone. I said, what's the boy's name? Said, Chukwuemeka Ilechukwu. I said, okay, you know what we're going to do? Can you pack your things now so that we can take you to that family? Since you prefer that family. He said, no. I said, because you said they gave a 7-year-old, that's what you should be living with them. I said, no. I said, so I taught her that you see that they do it in other family. Doesn't mean we're going to do it here. You are a Praise Fowowe. You are not Ilechukwu family. Right? And so we need to, and that's why I'm passionate about teaching this. I mean, what I'm sharing with you, I won't even think about it. I can bring over 100 families who are doing what I'm teaching you right now. Because we need to start from somewhere. But there's not much noise, because when you are building, you don't make a lot of noise. Right? But we'll showcase them with time to say. And the other thing is, Nigeria as a country, or even Lagos State, I look at the way our family life is structured at state level, at policy level. So every state has a Ministry of Women Affairs. There's no Ministry of Men Affairs. So if a woman is having a problem with her husband, he's supposed to go to Ministry of Women Affairs, populated by women.
Yes.
Right? Welfare, populated by women.
Exactly.
Then you want materials on children, you have to go to Ministry of Youth and Sports. You need something about divorce, you have to go to Ministry of Justice. Why don't we have Ministry of Family Affairs? Even from data aggregation, we need to have that. So I can't understand it. But it looks like we now create parastatal, so everything is just scattered. And once you don't have a concerted effort, you're going to have people who don't even know what they're doing. And at the end of the day, policy will determine how people see things because it will shape a whole lot of what our children do.
That thing you said about our children, about your child seeing a friend getting a phone, don't you think we also need to teach our children adaptation and resilience, to train their minds, like train them on growth?
Yeah.
You need to let them know that, okay, I've instilled a value in you. Yeah, but do not you need to learn new stuff, but don't let it affect you.
You see, it's not just don't let it affect you. If I gather all of you in this room right now, those days, my first job out of school was to rehabilitate prostitutes. That's how I got into all of this.
To rehabilitate
I saw young girls in Ajegunle, Good Evening Street, prostituting. And I felt government was irresponsible. And I went home and I was praying. The Holy Spirit said, you can do something about it. Go and talk them out of prostitution. I used to be a good toaster when I was in school. So I went to toast them out of prostitution. In fact, I was so successful that the the brothel owners, placed a ban on me that I must not come into any brothel.
Imagine going to Good Evening Street and say, good evening, Sister, I want to talk to you.
I ran a fellowship for them inside Good Evening Street. All right? And so I learned something. I noticed that everyone that rehabilitates people, prostitutes, they will take them away from the people, from the society, and seclude them in a place. Then when they say they have now rehabilitated them, bring them back, they will continue business as usual. So I created a new model. I started training them within that. You'll be faced with temptation every day. If you fall, let's talk about it till you gain strength. Right. So if I gather all of you right now and you say to your child, don't collect anything, and the child goes out and 9 out of every 10 person he sees in Nigeria is collecting things, the child is going to collect things. Because environment. You see, in strategy, there are 3 pillars of strategy. Number 1 pillar is your outcome or the bottom line. Number 2 is your internal capacity. Number 3 is the operating environment. You see that operating environment? That's why we say that in strategy, when culture meets strategy, culture will eat strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
Because if the culture is not right,
more embedded.
It's going to be tough, right? Because what do they model? What do we celebrate? So we say to everybody, oh yeah, don't do this thing anymore. Hey, everybody, be honest. Then they turn on the TV. They are seeing people who got into position with primary school certificates, with brand new cars.
And you're telling them to go to school and become a
They're not
bachelor
going to
degree.
listen to you.
There's a quick question I want to ask you. I mean, going back to raising a family and all that. Can a good man, a giving man, a caring man, oh my God, it's so nice, sends me on a trip to Dubai, sends me on a trip to Paris, can a spending, caring, why are you looking at me?
I'm just
Can a good, caring, spending man be a good father?
He can be a good father if...
I know why they ask.
Wait, who in they spend for?
The resources there now. Why can't he be a good father?
I'm asking before he gets married.
Okay, a man that is generous.
That's
Generous, yeah. Can a girl look at him and say, me, don't worry, he'll be a good father?
No, you can't determine who a good father is going to be just by looking at him, right? Does he understand fatherhood?
What are the questions you need to ask? Because a lot of ladies are watching this,
Yeah.
and they need to know, because a lot of ladies are into relationships now, and I believe that now women, they choose who to marry, not be you where they told them to marry, because not only you want they told them, plenty other people they decide. So what is that thing that is going to help them make a better decision? Because these days, 2 days we don't see divorce, 3 days we don't see divorce, because you find out that your values are not aligned.
Yes.
So what are those things that they will see, those questions, those pertinent questions that they need to ask that will make them make a better informed decision?
So, and you see, I don't want to box people, right? Because I'm not a fan of, 7 steps, 8 steps, because your step may not be in the 8. Right? I'm not a fan of all those things, because I think it can box you up that there may be something you need to discover that you may not discover if you're already boxed up in the 8. So I don't like to tell people, okay, ask this question, but values is what must get married. Right? And it's not just, he says, this is who I am. No, you need, so I want to check who are the people that are related with him. What is his reputation? Right? So he's been in a relationship. If I ask you about your past relationship, about your ex, and everything you have to say are bad things about your ex, then that's a red flag. Because no, there's nobody that can be absolutely a devil. There must be something good. Right? You can say, oh, this person did this, but I mean, in fairness to this person, he did it. And then you tell me the ones that you did wrong.
There's a question you asked.
Yeah.
There's something you said, and I would like to see a perfect example here. We're 4 of us here. You said a lot of people are walking traumas. And there's an assessment that you do.
Yes.
Can you run an assessment on any one of us and make us know if there's a trauma that is inside or not, even if not 2 or 3 questions?
Okay, so I wouldn't say I would run an immediate assessment, but so if I, would you?
Sure.
Okay, so if I pick you right now and I ask you, if you have to assess your childhood between ages 0 to 10, did you have an excellent childhood? On a scale of 0 to 10.
Do I have to say the reason?
Just answer the question first.
Not really.
Not really.
Yes. And that's because my parents were not really around. So it was someone else that brought me up.
Okay.
Yeah, an uncle.
Where were your parents?
They traveled a lot because of my dad's job. So
Okay, so did you miss him?
do I miss him?
The fact that he was not there to raise you.
Of course, I do miss them.
Okay. So it was your uncle that raised you.
Yes.
And what was your relationship with that your uncle?
Oof, I was scared of it, but it was lovely.
So it was like a lion of the tribe of the home. kind of.
Is the uncle that accepts like everyone, watches over everyone's kids, like that.
So were you free enough to tell him the things?
No. No.
So there are patterns in there that we need to unearth.
Does that mean
I want to.
Does that mean
Yeah.
Organic, I want.
Izzy, I want to ask you a question that he didn't ask you. Does that make you like older men?
Does that make me like older men? From where to where?
No, I'm just asking the fact that your father was not always around.
Do you attract
It's
more
the
mature
way,
people?
I mean, to me, maturity doesn't come in age. So it's the way you present yourself to me. If I feel like you're matured enough, yeah, sure.
But if you look at the average person asking you out right now, would you say they are your age mates or people way older than you?
Younger and older.
On a scale of, if we have to look at it, ratio.
Which one is more younger?
Younger people, more younger
My
people.
age and younger than me. In fact, younger than me.
Which one do you end up with?
Which one do I? Right now, I'm single.
No, but
Oh.
do you end up with older most times or younger?
It depends. I don't know because I've only been in one relationship for the past 5 years and I'm not in the relationship anymore. So
Okay, so what we say to someone like you is that I will do healing the inner child therapy for someone like you. Because I want to take you back to that child, maybe at age 9, who was lonely in a room, and I will
Well, I
ask
had my cousins and my siblings around.
do you have them
Deflections.
So you were able to divert and deflect.
Yes.
So they formed a support system for you.
See, it was more of like, all those family homes that you don't see your cousin as your cousin, more of like your brother.
Your
So,
siblings.
yeah.
But there was
So
the issue of the fact that, because you talked about the father figure in your life was someone that you couldn't really open up everything to.
First.
Now, so your parents right now, are you back with them?
My mom, yes. My dad is no more. So, yeah.
How did you feel when he passed?
I felt bad. I cried.
You cried. Did you go through a grief therapy?
No. But I found solace in eating.
So listen, eating.
Yeah, in food.
So you see again, you have a pattern of not confronting. So that's the second time.
Deflection.
That is showing. So you're deflecting things, right? And so at some point you might need to confront them.
I don't mind.
And just heal.
Yeah, I need to heal my inner
Yeah,
child.
so someone looks at her and feels, oh, wow, she's a very pretty lady. She's a very da-da-da-da-da, and gets married to her. And then one day, she manifests maybe anger or rage or something. And he says, this nice guy, how could she do that? And the guy is thinking he's responsible. Meanwhile, he's not aware that it was something that was pre-existing.
Uncle me.
After that, I'm going to ask you a question that is going to lead us to another level.
As
But
far
go
as it's
ahead.
not me, you're asking.
No, it's not.
You
It's
don't
not.
ask
It's
me.
not. It's not.
Ask
You register for that one.
No, I want him to ask me now. What he asked to him.
Okay, so how was your childhood? What was your childhood like?
My childhood was good.
You live with your parents?
Yes.
2 of them?
Yes.
What was their marriage like?
Good.
Good?
Good. They had
Of course.
times,
everyone,
yeah. But when they really had times in marriage, I was small, so I didn't know. By the time I could,
How old were you when they had a hard time?
I know that my dad and my mom had this big quarrel, but that was when the marriage was new. I was less than a year old.
A year old, so.
They were gisting me later when I grew up. But
Okay, but your mom never at any point in time complained about your dad to you?
no, the complaints are now that I'm an adult.
Fantastic, because
Yes.
so a lot of
okay.
parents, their children warehouse their trauma. So your mom did a very good job.
But
Yeah.
but at a time in my life, primary 4, primary 5, my dad lost everything that he had. I think that was when the turnaround happened in my childhood, because all the things I used to get from my dad used to be a bubbly man.
You were no
Whenever
longer
he
getting-
comes back, the house is on fire. Everyone, if you're asleep, he'll come and wake my mom up, wake everybody. Yeah, let's drink. But when he lost everything, I mean,
Did they explain to you why?
I saw everything play out, even when the people he took loan from the bank came and took our cars, took our houses and stuff
So
like that.
are you married right now?
No, I'm not.
So are you always, if I ask you this, and I want you to be very honest, do you always feel the need to make your own money? And then when you make your own money, do you have this fear of, I don't want to lose this money. I don't want what happened to my dad to happen to me.
Okay. What? Okay, so I even discussed it. A friend of mine sent me a video this morning, and that video was where a lady, they said, how many of you ladies can feed your husband for 1 year? And that my friend sent it to me and said to me, you have a good heart. I know you can do this. I said, yes, I can, but I don't ever want it to happen. It doesn't feel good. I saw it play out. It doesn't feel good at all. I don't want it to happen to anybody around me. I don't want it to happen to me.
Good. So let me help you understand something. There are 2 levels of motivation. We have away from and towards motivation. Now, away from motivation is what we are trying to avoid, right? Your mind does not have the capacity to process, I don't want to, I can't, I won't, right? So that's why we say that the things people fear the most is what they attract. Right? So instead of trying to avoid what happened to your parents, right? If I ask you, what would you want?
Like how?
For your life as a person. What kind of spouse?
So something is unique about me, right? I told you that my dad changed. You know, he wasn't bubbly anymore. He became secluded to himself and everything. You needed to ask him questions before he would speak up and stuff like that. So the unique thing about me is, from that point, I've grown. And oh my goodness, I have been rejected, frustrated. But I'm never down.
Good.
So instead of, why I said that to my friend is normal rejection.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I can't handle difficult times. There are times, of course.
I'm not saying you can't handle difficult times. What I'm saying to you, I'm helping you. So if I say to you, picture this in your mind, I will never be poor. What picture shows up in your mind?
Ibiza.
So what
Abba?
shows up in my mind is where I'm coming from.
Exactly.
So you will see a bit of poverty, then you see a bit of maybe prosperity, kind of.
Yes.
But contrast it with, I am going to be very wealthy.
I'm going to be very wealthy.
Yeah. Shoot that picture in your mind.
I'm going to be very wealthy.
What picture shows up in your
The
mind?
picture that shows up in my mind as a wealthy person right now is to be able to provide for my parents. I want to see my father, at least before he dies. I want to see him as who he used to be
So
before
you feel
I became
responsible.
an adult.
Okay, so
That's wealth. I don't need the whole world.
I don't want you to, I think you might need to do some work on that so that you can live your life and focus on your journey and not be trying to compensate your dad for what life took away from them.
Yes.
Okay, so
The question I want to ask is, Izzy, you might need to pay for this. What is the role of, because sometimes me and husband Masera used to talk. Sometimes he says some things on the show that a lot of parents have left their parenting to social media.
Yeah.
What is the role of social media to these day and age parenting? How has it added value? Has it made it worse?
I think social media is a platform, all right? The same way internet is a platform. Social media is neither good or bad. It takes the shape of the user. So if you are, all the people who do foolish things on social media. Without social media, they would say, I've been doing foolish things. Without social media,
the market square.
it just magnifies their stupidity, and if you are wise, it will show it, right? And so, and I wish people understand that it reveals who they truly are, to the entire world, because now your madness is on a global level. Sometimes in America, my American friend will show me some videos from Nigeria, and he'll be asking me questions, and sometimes I'll feel very embarrassed, But I think that when it comes to parenting, every social media app has got age restriction that your child should get on those. I think it's 13 or 16 for some. So when I see ages 8 on social media, I'm wondering, what's your child doing here? Right? And so I think the quest to make money has damaged us in a way that we don't even know what is right or wrong. It's money we want to worship. Right? Because what is your child doing? What is a 9-year-old doing on Instagram? What is he doing on Snapchat? What's that child doing there?
My mommy did a good job.
Right?
today
Even when we
dressing
take
me.
pictures for children, I see it on social media.
Children on social
We're not
media.
allowing children grow. They are heavily made up, and you are wondering what's happening. This is a child. right? And so, what I think, because there are good sides to social media in the sense that it helps us. I mean, without social media now, we won't know honest bunch. You know, so what I always say to my children is this. The perception code we use for them in my family is that they're royalty. So I always say that every platform you get into, there are royal information, right? And there are other toxic information, right? So you consume what aligns with your identity. That's what I always say to my children. So my daughter would say, oh, Dad, what's this person? Why is this person talking like this? And we analyze it, right? So a whole lot of parents, you need to know that you can't allow your children access to screen all the time because it's going to damage them. In fact, right now, they'll tell you that if your child is addicted to screen, screen, it is responsible for some of the mental health problems that children are facing, right? And a lot of parents don't know because parents don't have time. So if I'm talking to my son, for example, I don't hold my phone. Because holding your phone and feeling with your phone while talking to your child is telling him that someone else is out there who is more important than him. Because I want to observe his body language. I want to look at him. I want to have honest conversation. And what social media has robbed us of is social interaction. So if Nedu was celebrating his birthday before social media, I'm likely going to travel all the way to come and be with him. But now it's convenient to just write a message, and just a video, and so you don't even know who really loves you and those who don't really love you anymore. And that's why when someone dies, you realize that people move on too quickly.
Followers increase.
Yeah, people move on so quickly. So I think that we need to use social media and not allow social media to use us.
Digital control.
Yeah. And that's where I stand. And if you have a child who is not at the appropriate age, in fact, not just at the appropriate age, you now need to teach your children digital intelligence, that they have a digital footprint, right? That everything they're doing in there, we can figure it out. Right? If you have not prepared your child for life on the internet, then don't expose them unnecessarily. Because it's like handing your car to a 6-year-old and telling him, go and drive my car. Then you hire all the prayer warriors to pray that an accident should not happen. Of course, it's going to be an accident.
What are gender roles in
No,
family?
Baba, no verse before gender roles. I want to ask because, this one about having children on social media. There's also that excuse of, you have the parents actively involved and they can police them.
Yes.
Some children are very special.
Yeah.
Like they can articulate their thoughts, express themselves. Some can dance.
Yeah.
And so their parents take advantage of that app
To
because
showcase.
you can showcase. It's global. Is it possible that one can protect and shield that child?
You can shield a child, definitely, but if anything bad happens to that child, how do you shield that child from the consequence of their action when their action goes global? So take, for instance, you have a child actor who the whole world knows. Did you hear Michael Jackson talk about the fact that his childhood was stolen from him?
Yes.
He talked about it. Said because he couldn't even play like a proper child. And that's why he was gathering children and then...
it was not looking like he was abusing kids.
Is it possible to find a balance?
You can find that balance. And I'm not against... if your child is precocious, your child has got special skills, special talent, right? But, it's like when we say artist management in Nigeria, the management agency must be more powerful than the artist. But, it's the other way around.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so... a lot of parents themselves need parenting, and now they are parenting. So is that person that cannot tell a child sit down, the child will sit down, that now say I'm in control, I'm policing my child? No.
The balance for me, Baba Noves, the balance for me was even if, there was a popular case in Nigeria where the mother, a content creator, does a lot of dancing.
Shaking of bomb.
Yes, special dancing.
Kids.
Online, And
Special
in some of the videos, the kids feature in these videos, and the partner, from some of his explanation afterwards, did not like that situation.
Yes.
And why I asked about balance is it possible to have a conversation, or so long as somebody does not, you mentioned the putting it to a vote, so long as somebody does not align with it, is it best to just say, let's do away with this?
If your partner is not aligning with your child going online, you shouldn't. And that's where I talked about accountability. When you can't agree, who do you defer to? There must be someone who is reasonable in your life, a third party, who you can table the matter before and say, we can't agree on this. What do you think? Because the moment in a marriage you decide to go and do whatever you like, I was handling a couple in the early days, and the own problem was that husband wanted to go for vacation in Hawaii. Wife insisted it must be Bahamas.
Here.
And they had 2
See, rich
children.
people
Location problem.
Rich people
It wasn't-
problem.
This couple, they are together right
Hawaii,
now.
Bahamas.
But I love their sessions because those days I was charging 20,000 per session many years ago.
Keep
2008 or 2007. For 8 sessions, they will come and fight all through. 40 minutes is over, I'll say your session is over. They will go and come back the next Sunday and fight again.
Baba, they cash out.
I'll just sit and be looking at them, right? Until the 8th session was when, okay, what's the issue? I say, it's about going for summer, and the man now says she's always competing with me. That if I bought a car, she would buy a higher version of that car almost immediately.
With whose money, sir?
They both have money.
Okay.
Mad.
Right? And so I knew that there was a fundamental problem in there. So I asked them what their family vision was. There was none. So I said, that's why you guys are fighting consistently. So can we sit down and even get back to the basics? Why did you guys get married? Then the guy said he got married to her because he has always wanted someone. She sounded like a good home. She looked like a good homemaker. He said, no, you needed a housekeeper, not a wife. And so by the time we got into why they got married, family vision, they were able to calm down a little bit. And then we had to talk to them about the need and build systems by which they will now use to make decisions. Then they got someone they can be accountable to. You cannot, because you think you want to be popular on social media. And please, let's say this the way it is. There are people I see that on social media that it looks like it's trauma response. I know people on social media that if you say to them, if the world stops talking about them, they will be depressed. So there's a need for them to be in the news, so they have to do something crazy.
To always trend.
And so the day they do something crazy and nobody talks, nobody comments,
Sickness.
they might go sick. So the question is, what is it that they are running away from that they have not confronted? Right? Because I can see all these things when people do many of these things. Because people are clapping, people are commenting, people are saying their own online in-laws. If your spouse says, I don't want my child out there, in fact, do you know that in some countries in America, if you do that and you put your child and you're doing special dance now, you put your child there, if your spouse reports you, they can withdraw the child from you.
Wow.
In fact, they can withdraw access and grant full custody to your spouse.
Because you're putting them, endangering them.
Yeah,
You're
the
not
child.
fit.
Yeah, they'll say you're not fit because you are taking irrational decisions. I still have a Nigerian family right now. The man beats a 6-year-old in the US. And then they have to withdraw the child. They say don't have access to the child till now.
Beat a 6-year-old.
In US.
As you could see all kinds of marks.
Village people.
Hey, you don't do that now. That kind when you pay flight for them.
Bring them back to Nigeria.
As they are landing.
No,
Let's say for
but
a
wait,
short
oh,
trip.
somebody go beat
them very
6-year-old
well.
pikin, even for Nigeria, even for abroad, beat a 6. What is 6-year-old no? Where you go beat them, beat.
Which is what he said. He said something that sometimes when your kids do something, they pour water on the ground. Intentionally, they don't want to do that thing. It just happened.
A child is a child.
A child is a
Because
child.
You want to see your pikin and say, nah,
because-
They were also beaten at that age by their parents.
Exactly.
So they think that they must beat the child. There are 3 words that we use carelessly: discipline, domestication, and punishment.
Please talk to us, Daddy.
So the word discipline is the word disciplina, is a Latin word. It means to grow, to groom, to disciple, and to raise.
to grow, to groom, to disciple, and to
raise.
raise.
Yeah, so within the context of discipline, you don't have yelling, shouting, and many of the things we do. Now, domestication is the Latin word domesticatus. It means to tame and to clip wings. So every time your parents told you, I'm going to clip your wing in this, I'm going to tame you, it was domestication they were talking about, not discipline. Now, punishment is the word punere, which means to avenge and inflict pain. So beating falls under punishment. So the question is, which one are you trying to do? Are you trying to discipline, punish, or domesticate? Right? And so when people don't, and the easiest example I give is this. Go and check the Norway model of prison system. The Norwegians realized that every time they beat prisoners, when they release them, they went to commit the same offense. So they concluded that corporal punishment does not solve the behavioral problem, that there must be a behavioral solution. So they came to a conclusion that for people to be misbehaving, every misbehavior can be traced to two things: a non-discovery of self and a non-remembrance of self. If you don't know who you are, you mess up. If you forget who you are, you mess up. So they changed the prison system into what looked like a 5-star hotel. That when you came into the prison, they will analyze you. What can you do? If you had aptitude for maybe medicine and surgeon, they will send you to a medical school, right? And so the moment people were, in fact, in the prison, your wife can come and be sleeping with you there. They had cable TV and blah, blah, blah. What they were doing is so they had a mantra. They say, if you treat a human being like an animal, it will respond with the energy of a beast. If you treat a human being like a human being, it will be humane enough to be kind. But if you treat a human being like a royalty, they will start to behave like kings and queens.
Lovely.
So I always ask parents, how do you see your child? Because how you see your child determines how you handle that.
This thing Nedu said about children not intentionally committing something. I used to break lantern. We used to use lantern when I was small. I used to break. Anytime I want to wash, I would break. Anytime I want to wash. So my mom flogged me severally. Then there was this time I broke it and I didn't want to be flogged. So I wrote her a note. And I say, if I'm truly your child, you will not be treating me the way that you are treating me. How much is a globe? What if I wounded?
Were you breaking it intentionally?
No. And I asked her questions so there. I said, what if the thing wounded me? What if questions? And I put it under the door and I ran to my auntie's house. I didn't come back. It was my auntie that brought me back at night. My mom came back from what she was looking for me. She was sad because she didn't know what to tell my dad when my dad comes back. When I came back, my mom sat me down and said, sorry. Because those questions that I asked her, I said, you didn't even consider that the thing might wound me and stuff like that. So from that day, I was more intentional. And then she just knew how to handle my mistakes.
Use ability that right. We'll cut our eyebrow. Go put down for slippers. Let mama forget.
I have a 3-year-old daughter. If she does anything and you tell, shut up. And she does something, she's so smart that she does something and then you tell her, don't do that. The first question she asks you is, why? Before, like when she was like 2, I'd be like, why are you asking me why? Come on. So, but now I learned that she has to know why. That thing. Go and sit, drop that thing. You're going to stop that thing. You're going to fall. Why? Because you will injure yourself, and I don't want you to injure yourself. If you injure yourself, you go to the hospital and they give you injections. Next time, she's even the one that will be telling others, don't do that. You will injure yourself if you do this. You understand? So now, which brings me to this question. What are the teaching systems for a child? And before I come to gender roles, what are the teaching systems? Because I'm sure the way they have different kind of kids, they have different kind of teaching systems. What are the teaching systems that someone can engage in to teach kids?
So there are so many. We always say you script your child for success. All right. So you must have a family scripting system to say, this is what I want to communicate at different ages. In fact, right now, including I don't expose my children to all kinds of religious teachers. No, I control what I want them to know.
They go church.
They go church. They go to church, right? But whatever they teach them, I reteach many of those things when they come back home.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've trained them to ask questions.
Wow.
Because the damage we do to children, and I'll give you an example. When our parents gave birth to us, they didn't ask for your permission before they gave you a name. How did they arrive at the name? Who even said that we must be giving people name on the 8th day?
Religion.
They gave you a name that reflected their reality.
Their reality.
It had nothing to do with you. Then, when it was time to choose your first school, did they take you around several schools to say,
choose one?
They chose for you. Did they consider the worldview of the teachers you were going to be exposed to before they put you in that school? Did they consider the culture of the children that were going to be sitting around you and the conversations they were going to be having before they put you in that school? No. Then they even chose secondary school. They even chose whether you went to science class for some of us. And then suddenly they expect you to be a superhuman. Right? Because what they have displayed is lack of respect for your authenticity. And so, what I always say is this. Because a child will show you potentials, but you must be able to interpret. And so, you need to ask as a family, what type of children do we want to produce? Once you can answer that question, you design your life around that. Now, here is a big problem. Majority of parents know who they want their child to be, but they don't know who they need to become for their child to become who they need to become. So we want the child to change, but we don't want to change.
Yeah.
Because if you say now, I want to raise royalties, what are the ethos of raising royalties? You can't
You
shout.
need to be royal. So.
Right? How do they eat? So to teach royalties how to eat is extra work. Right? They are not willing to put in that work, but they want to raise royalties. And that's why sometimes I'm running sessions and I'm asking, what type of child you want to raise? They say, I want to raise a godly child. Define a godly child. They can't define. Okay, mention the 6 attributes of a godly child. They tell you if it's a godly child, the first thing they mention is it will be obedient because they hate for a child to argue with them. Many parents can't stand the contrary opinion. A child is not arguing with you, he has a contrary opinion. Right? And you need to listen to him because he may actually be correct.
Yeah.
Right, but we're not willing to listen because where we come from, once you are older, then you know it all.
He was talking. He knows what I'm talking about. His brother's child.
Yeah, he said it before.
He was the guy. The kid did something, and then he was yelling at the boy. Come here. And
Why
the
you
boy
shouting?
said, "Why are you yelling? I'm here.
Right here. Now that day I know say my school fees.
Yeah, but you see,
My
what that
school
child
fees
is
for
showing is also showing him something that is a trauma in him that he's not even aware of.
Child.
How did our parents call us?
Traumatized.
Slippers.
They call us Nedu. Chinedu. You were there beside them.
Oh, come here. I will not beat you.
Give me
so-
that
I will
remote.
not beat you. I will not beat you. Come, I will not beat you. I will not beat you. I will not.
Now say Chinedu.
Help me go and bring something.
That
They're behind you. Lock the door.
And whenever I don't enter inside bedroom,
It's over.
you see, which is why I tell somebody, I say, you see, my life, I can never steal. I can never take what is not mine. I can never do evil. Now,
Why are you
it's not
looking at him
because
like that?
I'm not fit. You know why? Not because of I don't want to.
Conditioning.
Conditioning. I remember something. My mama. I have a question to ask. I
You
don't
know, I know
why
your
I'm saying
stories. Is it the knife injury?
Yes.
Okay.
I got teeth chin. Is it this car that is here? My mama go walk. And now, come on now, go somewhere to go and buy chin chin. So I now pay for the chin chin. I can't collect the chin chin. So the customer me then go bring change. Now person
You
send
can't
me.
serve yourself.
So I can't see the chin chin. I say they close to me. Something I say.
Devil come push you.
No, something say.
Take it.
Take am. Nothing go happen. Then no go see you. And now come and now take it. As I dey carry am, as I dey put hand, they carry the other one. I saw the woman they see me. As my hand they move, the woman they see my hand they go. I saw she shake am. I saw they come call Auntie Queen, where her husband they work for bank. Auntie Queen flog shege come off my body. I think say na there it go end.
No.
Auntie Queen cause say he go tell my mother.
Hey.
You know, I plug all the hair with it for this thing put for my head. I plug everything, make Auntie Queen forget. Auntie Queen not forget. My mama can't come back for night. I think say my mama don't forget. Auntie Queen tell my mama, can I go near the entrance of our compound? I think say my mama don't forget. Mama serve me food. I chop low that night. I will eat meat. Join
For strength.
for you. For strength.
They chop last supper.
I didn't think about anything. Now later when we don't sleep, mama will go, Chinedu, Tete. As I wake up, mama, anything we do, so mama they cut abacha. So she they cut cassava because she does. My mom like doing, all those doing pretty much everything herself. Akara, cassava, she like doing. So she was cutting cassava. And anything she did her hand, then she they carry beat you. So as she wake me up, as she they cut this cassava, so she did give me for hand. Bam. See, when I gave birth to you, your twin sister died. I raised you with the blood, and I told you, you will never steal, you will never do any bad thing. I'm reiterating it with this, sir. Till tomorrow won't be me that. So you see that thing. In as much I felt it was crude, it was harsh,
But it worked.
it worked. So do you think these days this thing that they say in Christianity, you spare the rod, you spoil the child, do you still think is a thing?
I think,
Proverbs 13:24.
so and I'm going to answer the question without mincing words. I'm not for, I'm not against. And I'll explain why. Because it's also in the Bible that if you have a rebellious son and you've done everything and he's not listening, bring him to the gate and let the elders stone him to death.
Yeah.
Yo, brah.
It's there in the Bible. But we don't quote that one. But we have a lot of children that fit that description. And so, when the Bible talks about the rod of correction, I'm trying to understand what is that rod? Because there's another verse that says, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So what kind of rod can be comforting? Could it be communication? Could it be something else? Because to a people who have been through slavery, every time they hear rod, they think koboko. So if people have not been through that slavery, every time they hear rod, it can be something else.
Yes.
Right? Because at the end of the day, you want to correct a behavior, not to damage the child. So I always say, if you want to beat your child, one, don't beat a child for what you have not taught him. That would be wickedness.
Don't beat your child for
What you have not taught him.
And two, don't beat a child without giving him room to assimilate what you have taught him. Because he will need time to process and understand it. Right? Three, don't beat a child when there is no proof that beating can solve that behavior, that can correct that behavior. Because if beating can correct every behavior, there are still things that mommy and daddy are still doing wrong. We should be beating them.
If beating can correct every behavior.
Yeah. So if you are sure that beating can correct that behavior, then do it. All right? Then 4, don't beat a child without giving him room to explain why he did what he did. 5, don't beat a child when you are hungry because you will damage him. I met a boy, one of his eyes was blind. Said his father got angry and used belt and used the... That boy is never going to forget. The same way Nedu still has that...
I have one on my leg.
Uh-huh.
My dad said, the day I will flog you, I will leave a mark. The day I will flog you, I will leave a mark. He kept saying that thing until he flogged me twice.
See, what you didn't hear from what Nedum said as he was talking, Nedum's mom had an unprocessed trauma. The pain of losing his twin sister was not processed. So she looked at him and said, you will not go bad.
Yeah.
Right? So from a principle point of view, she was right. Maybe the application could have been better done.
Yeah.
Right? Now, never beat a child, without agreeing prior to the time the offense is committed, the punitive measure for that offense. So if you say, we're going to agree, is beating. So when he does it, beats. But even when you want to beat, like my mentor taught me years ago, he said, don't let your child attach pain to your hand. Let them attach love to your hands. So that when anything goes wrong outside, your child must know, I can always come home.
Yeah.
Because if they attach pain to your hand, it drives them further away from home. Right? And so that is where my balance to say, but we need to correct the behavior. And I always say to people, you see, if you want something that pains a child, there are things more painful to a child than beating. My father used to beat me. After a while, I went to do the same thing as Ekujuegbalo in Yoruba.
You know, Pascal, flog me. And you just like, pa.
My mom did not beat me, but if my mom talks to you, you will cry like they flog you. So when I was smoking on campus, they didn't know I was smoking at home. One day I was having a conversation with myself. I was smoking. I had like the third stick. And a voice in my heart said, if your mama comes school now, what do you go do? I said, my mom will first pass out. Then when she wakes up, she will sit with me and begin to talk. And I feared my mother's words more than the cane of my father. That was the last time I smoked. I dropped that. Nobody preached to me. I dropped it. I said, I can't bear for this woman to say the things she would have said.
Wow.
Right? And so we need to understand that there's a way you can rent a space in the heart of a child. And that's why any change that is not self-generated cannot be self-sustained.
Any change that is not self-generated
cannot be self-sustained.
So what you want to do consistently, because in like agricultural science, your child is like the plant. The bad behavior is like the weed. Weeds are unwanted. What do you attack, plant or weed?
Weed.
So how do you attack weed? Anyhow, if you attack the weed anyhow, you uproot the plant with the weed. So you need to understand what you're dealing with. And so oftentimes we are not analyzing. You say a child is lying. A child is lying. The psychology behind lie is that I do not trust my parents to warehouse my truth. Because if I share the truth with them, it may result to beating, it may result to pain, and they may shout, they may scream. So let me hide it from them. Your child is stealing. Where is stealing coming from? It's scarcity mentality, or the child is reacting to something. So they have a child that was handling in Canada. They just put the child in Canada, and then the parents didn't have time for him, and he found himself for the first time in a school with all white. He was the only black. And then the child began to pick on him. Then they started telling the parent, your child is unruly, your child has ADHD, your child da. And then so the parents were not giving him attention, so he started stealing. And they started beating him. You are stealing, you are a God's child. So eventually when I started running the session for this family, I had to even go and instruct school to say, the boy is not unruly because you don't understand African children. Right? So I had to explain to them that, see, your own children is 3 months in a year that they come out to play. Where this child is coming from is round the year. And some of them, they even sold gala. So if you take a child who sold gala, who was running after Danfo to America, even if he sits down, you say, sit down, there's something running inside of him. So I had to explain to them. Then number 2, by the time I began to interact with him, before his parents moved away from Nigeria, they didn't allow him to say bye-bye to his friends in Nigeria. So he was missing his friends. And the white kids were picking on him. So eventually, by the time we did all that and I asked them, you need to pay attention, give him attention, create a new family for him, then put him on Zoom, let him say bye-bye to his students. Stealing stopped. But somebody would have been beating him. Because you see, you can condition someone that the person never does the thing. But have you traumatized him? Because he's going to grow and beat his own child.
You can condition the person to stop something, but have you traumatized
him? Because we say, oh, he walked. But the battery, he walked. Who have we become really? Are we happier? Are we okay?
Can we get into gender roles? Sorry to cut you. Gender roles. Now, a lot of men believe, and a lot of people grow up to this with this idea that a woman's role is in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And they shelve a woman. Leave her. Even if they drive for road, do they drive anyhow? Now woman. Gender roles in the society, gender roles in the family. How do you?
You want to go back to history, and there were things that were handed over to us, and so that in the history of marriages, globally and across the world, maybe until the 19th or 18th century, people didn't marry for love. In the Stone Age, you married to produce babies for workforce. In the Renaissance age, or in the Roman Empire age, you married for inheritance. Because if you and they do now, you have inheritance, you never marry, they're not going to give you. So you have to find someone, whether you love her or you don't love her, you go marry him. Right? And so over a period of time, different cultures have different models of marriage. I've studied almost all the cultural marriages across the globe, right? And I have found 7 cultures where women are even the one who are like husband in those cultures. There are 7 cultures where a woman is one that can marry 3 husbands. Yeah, there's a particular culture where the husband even become husband on shifts. So a husband resume as husband 7 a.m. to 12. The next one, husband material, resume at 2. And his husband till 8 p.m. Then there's the one who does till daybreak.
Nice.
And interesting thing, divorce never happens in that community. Right? And so, what we call gender roles, women are naturally more suited to certain roles than men based on their design. Right? And that's why I tell people, no matter how much you love your child as a man, you love, be nice, do everything. This is my mommy, right? Of course, because you don't have a breast to breastfeed a child, and so they have a bit of attachment. However, I like to think of marriage like a team. While those traditional roles exist, human beings created those roles.
True that.
Right? If we are a team, then it wouldn't matter. Because at the end of the day, let's say your house is dirty, and you are home as a man, and you refuse to clean the house because your wife is the one that should be cleaning the house, right? When people come to your house and your house is dirty, they won't say your wife is dirty. They will say that family is dirty. So a lot of people score own goals against themselves in their bid to insist on, this is my role, and then they will say the man should be the provider. I don't know where they got that from. Right? Because what I tell people is this: if it's a team, and that's what we teach in many of our certification programs, that if it's team-based, what both of you generate becomes your internally generated revenue, and it moves in the direction of your family economy.
Yeah.
So if Nedu is generating 1 million every month, Madam is generating 500,000, What is the family revenue?
Income 1.5.
1.5. Then you can say we're going to live on 400,000 and we're going to use the rest to buy assets. Right? That's what a family is. You know, people don't know that what they call couple. If you want to understand couple, go to the mechanic and see the way they couple engine. Once it's couple, there is no difference. This is the carburetor. This is no. It's engine. Right? So the moment we begin to say your money is my money, we are agitating for resource control is what we are doing, and that violates the tenets of a couple. So it's the same thing. Yes, we want to cook, right? But the question I even ask when it comes to cooking is this: if at the point of marriage, husband material is worth $1 billion, his wife is worth $1 billion, will they be talking about who will be cooking?
No.
Get a chef.
So maybe there are some conversations we're having because of poverty.
That's the truth, sir. Go deeper, daddy.
Who should cook? You will cook. We'll be thinking of hiring the best chef. We'll be watching all these chef game and say, what's the best chef? We can hire him.
Chef Ramsay.
But
Gordon Ramsay.
In the situation where I'm earning 1.5 and Nedu is earning 1M, don't you think an ego will come in?
It shouldn't
and
be.
And it will destroy the...
It shouldn't be, because you see, a lot of men think that, and that's why they want to be richer than their women, because they think that, you know, once you are richer, a woman will follow you. No, a woman gets to a level that if you can't provide leadership, even if you have money, she won't follow you.
Yes.
The question is, can you provide leadership? Can you groom her? When I got married, my wife earned more than me, way more than me. But she couldn't take any decision without deferring to me and say, oh, what should we do? But I wasn't lazy. I was working because the other side to it is now, you say, well, your wife earned more than you. You now sit down at home. You say, I'll be a driver. No. You also lose respect.
Yeah.
Right? But you see, if there is love, if we truly care about, I mean, you know, I love to look at marriage from a friendship point of view. Because I always tell people that, you see, friendship is a crucible in which great relationships are forged. Because the level of friendship, nobody's pretending. It's when there is no friendship. If we are both of us are friends, right? It won't matter whether Nedu earns lesser than me or I earn more than him. I love him enough to know that this man means well for me. If he has more, he will do more. So I'm not going to be comparing him with someone else and say, see your mate. What of my mates who are dead?
I posted something on Twitter and on my Instagram and on my WhatsApp started yesterday. Come and see a lot of people in my DM. Why? Not be you again. They talk rubbish. I said, you want the woman to go to work, come back from work, cook for you, tend to the kids, tend to you, and still share the bill 50-50. And all you need to do is go to work and come back.
No.
Make that make sense. Come and see people attacking me.
Right,
Why would you say that? Even women attack. I'm like, no, but make it make sense. This woman goes to work the same way you go to work. She comes back. You expect her to go to work, come back. Come back when you come back. She will cook, enter the kitchen and cook for you. She will tend to the kids. Sometimes she might even do school runs for you. And then after tending to the kids, she will come and arrange the room. She will come and even service you. And at the same time, you are not expected that, oh, what are you bringing to the table? It has to be 50-50.
I don't believe that. You know, in the UK,
when all you do is go to work and come back.
The highest form of divorce right now is among blacks, especially Africans who are immigrants. 48% of the reason they give, the highest reason they now give, is unreasonable behavior. What is unreasonable behavior? They leave Africa, they go over there, and they still want the woman to do all these things that they talked about. And so the woman say, no, I mean, I'm bringing more money. What exactly are you bringing to the table?
Simple.
Right? Because if we're a team, then it wouldn't matter. I mean, I tell people, you know, I cooked more than my wife in the first 10 years of a marriage. She was a banker. I was an entrepreneur. I was the one that could go to the market and buy pepper. The pepper women knew me. The fish women knew me. If I genuinely love her, why would I wait for her to get back to home at 1 a.m. and start cooking? In fact, sometimes I finish making the meals and I'm trying to get her to eat. She's falling asleep while eating. Yeah. Is that the kind of woman I want to, you know? So maybe a lot of people are still being run by the software of their parents in this modern day era. It's not, if you really love someone, you want to serve them and you want to make their life easy.
So, I know you're not a woman, but when we started this discussion, we had talked about family, we had talked about fathers. From your point of view, who is a mother?
So let me talk about who is a wife before who is a mother. Because again, like I said, female is the expression of humanity in the feminine gender, right? So we say man is humanity expressed in two gender, male and female, right? Now, when you talk about a wife is from the word Isa. Isa means the only kind of help that God could have supplied. And if you check that word Isa, is an Hebrew word. If you check it in Greece, is the word parakletos, which is a type of the Holy Spirit. Right? And that's why we say that a female can be a commanding spirit. A wife is a suggesting spirit.
Subtle.
Yes.
A female can be a commanding spirit. A wife is a suggesting
spirit. Right? And that's why if you're a strong wife, you can actually influence your man to do whatever he needs to do. Now, when you now come to motherhood, what does a mother do? You receive the seed, incubate the seed, and bring the seed to life, and support the father to raise a new society. Basically, that's what it is. And so again, if you are, and interestingly, I was having a session with one of the corporate giants today, and I was asking them, and this is a big issue. So I have this therapy I do, which is a 3-duplex therapy. And so we take you through 3 duplexes, the you, the wife you, and the mother you, or the father you, and the. So we ask people to go into the living room of the duplex called you, which is the you everybody sees. Then we ask them to go to the bedroom, which is the you nobody sees, the you that is struggling, all your addictions in there. Right? Then we ask people to go to the husband called you or the wife called you. Your spouse is coming. When you see them, how do you feel? How do they make you feel? All right? Are you hugging them or are you walking past them? Then go to the living room, which is what everybody sees. Then go to the bedroom of your family, of your marriage, and let's see what's happening there. Some people were chopping beating inside the bedroom. So we say that if you love what you see, stay in there and just hug them. If you don't like what you see, run out. All right. And so I'm checking the body language of everybody. Then we go to the parenting you. Again, we repeat the same process. Then we say, go back to the place where you found the highest form of fulfillment. Very few people went to that duplex called you. So it means that their identity is compromised and they are using roles to compensate for it. And so if your highest fulfillment is being a wife or a husband, if anything happens to your spouse, you're in trouble.
If your highest fulfillment is being a husband or wife, if anything happens to your spouse,
you're in trouble. Right? If anything happens to your child, if that's the highest fulfillment, you are in trouble. And that's why you see people, especially maybe single parents, they pour their entire love on the child that they lose their own identity. Now, when another woman now comes into the life of that child, they start having problems. That's why they now meet the lady and now say, I am the first wife. No, you're not the first wife.
If it's not this breast that he sucks.
Exactly.
Well, he first of all sucked this breast.
So that's where
So
we say to people,
like that.
Your personal wholesomeness is key. Nurture yourself. And I now ask them, can you stand up and praise yourself for 5 minutes non-stop? And I give them 2 rules. You must never quote any verse of the Holy Book. And you must not repeat the same words twice. Nobody could do it for 2 minutes. And I showed them that you have not been nurturing yourself because you were socialized to praise God and to praise others. Every time you attempted to praise yourself, they call you proud. So many of us are not we've not nurtured this body, and that's why everything people say gets to you. Because if you are well nurtured, it doesn't matter what they say. You will still do what you need to do. That's why I love the way Nedu behaves.
So what's the role of a mother? So, we've talked about fathers.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about mothers, obviously. Like for me, my mother, in fact, my parents actually, I speak to them every day.
Yes.
If a day is finishing and you haven't called my father, he'll call you and say, oh, you still have a father, or what's going on? That's how I was brought up. But it's not everything I tell my father.
Yes.
But there are some things that happen to me and my friends that, your mother already knows. Maybe she calls me and is on last week. And I say, so how about that thing that now happened? What now happened? And they look at me like, your mom already knows. What do you think is the role of a mother in nurturing? Should they go deeper or should they be on the same level?
They have to be. You see, both of them needs to nurture. And I'll tell you why. You see, parenting, like I said, is to bring forth. And both of you need to design the parenting script. You see, there is a notion out there that if you're a single parent, you can't raise a healthy child. It's not totally correct. It's not totally correct because I've seen but what you need to do is build a system where if you're a female, have a male figure in the life of that child. If you are male, have a female figure, because all of us have the masculine and feminine side.
Yeah.
When one is overly developed, it's when people have an imbalance in their identity and they begin to say all kinds of things, right? And so a mother, like a father, both of them are supposed to come together and nurture and birth the seed, develop this, because parenting is a threefold assignment: discovery, development, and deployment. So there's...
Sorry,
yes.
sorry to cut you. When a child is bad, they say,
Is the
mother.
Forget
No,
what they say.
I'm
But
just
that's
saying,
not
it's a
general.
popular saying. I'm just telling you
Forget
so
what
that
they say.
so that the air
Yes.
is cleared.
Yes.
When a child is bad, even some families, when the child does well, it's like, go to your mother.
Yes.
That's your child. But when a child gets accolades or gets,
They say father.
and comes back, the father proudly welcomes, my child.
It's a wrong saying, and that's why I don't agree when they say a wise woman built a home. There is no home a wise woman, there's no wise woman that can build a home that a stupid man has vowed to destroy. It's not going to work.
There's something I said earlier, and I'm going to say it again. Raising, it's going to lead me to a question about a single mother raising a child, and a single father or a family. Now, a lot of people, I have few friends that are single mothers and they're doing great jobs.
Yes.
But sometimes when I tell some of them that are single mothers, I try, some of them call me sometimes, help me talk to my child,
Yes.
help me talk to my son, and I talk to them. I try to instill those things to them. Now, one of them, it took me, me push am on her, say, I have to be doing this for you. You're my friend, but I need to be doing this for you. Why? Because I saw something that she was doing that didn't make sense. And it's something I had seen before. She was trying to train the child
In her own way.
to be a man she had in her head. The ideal man, her own ideal man in her head, as opposed to an ideal man teaching your son how to be an ideal man.
Yes.
That your son is going to grow up with the idea of who the mom is. In fact, he will grow up being a woman in his head because he's now thinking like a woman of who a man should be. What do you say to our wonderful mothers, single mothers that have sons? How do you think best? How do you think they can raise their sons best?
That's why we always say that if you're a single mother, and I love my heart for you, a single father, great. Thank you for what you do. But what I always say is that find a male figure that child can defer to. It can be a mentor, it can be a foster father, but get someone. Because you see, you've never been a man, there are things you will never understand. I've never been a woman, that there are things I will never, and that's why I don't really like it when men are training women, teaching women how to be women. You've never gone through a menstrual cycle. So there are things you shouldn't even be saying because you don't know how it feels, right? And same way, if you have never been a man, you won't know a whole lot of things that we go through as men. And so because you see, we say that wealth is transferred through families. The same way values are transferred through families. And so what you want to do is you want to find a model man that your child can defer to, that your child can talk to, that your child can be with, right? Because you can't fill you can't fill that gap of an absentee father. And I must also say that two people can even be married and the man is still an absentee father.
Oh, true. A lot. That one they happen.
Yeah. So it's not, and that you are together doesn't mean your child is still going to turn out right. Do you get? So parenting has got a script you need to put together and you need to run that script. But if you are a single parent, please find some male figure. If you are not remarried and if you're not planning, and I don't know why a lot of single ladies, single mothers don't want to remarry. Maybe it's cultural or something. But I don't think a man will mind whether you have a child or not if you're a valuable product. I don't think so. Because
I mean, if you're a single mother, you want to marry, because the truth is, for this thing we talk now, it make me, there was something I said earlier, not today. I was saying it to a friend of mine. A lot of mothers want their divorced daughters to remarry, but they don't want their sons to get married to divorced ladies. Why? I have no idea. Yeah, so it's cultural, because people think that the moment you are a single mother, you're promiscuous or something like that. I don't think so. And that's why we're doing a lot of advocacy to begin to say, you know what?
someone got pregnant, didn't terminate the pregnancy.
You get
enough
it.
The
responsibility.
society should rally around that person and celebrate and be with her and ensure that she's fine. But what we do is that don't allow her move mix with our children. But your child has terminated 7.
Eish.
Yeah, you know where my advocacy for women started a long time ago, which is why I think the society, the church, the government, the society don't do enough for women advocacy.
I agree with you.
They don't. Forget about all this rubbish we already fool ourselves. They don't do enough. I remember in the choir that I was in Abuja, there was this girl that was my friend, close friend of mine. She did head the choir for one branch of the church. Everybody saw her as the best. Sister. Oh, she was working in the bank. Oh, sister. We were dating actually anyway. Oh, sister. Wonderful sister. Kinikon. And in the church that I was in the choir because I made the score songs for choir.
Choir master is fanning me.
Shut up. I made the score songs for choir. So, I teach tenor, I teach alto, I teach this is your part, this is your part, this is all this.
Soprano.
Is soprano. And then this lady, single mother, blessing, beautiful. Then she be like, she like me. She toast me. She be the first person who toast me. First woman who toast me for my life. And then I now told Bro Peter, hey, Bro Peter, sorry. Anyway. You'll understand. And I told Bro Peter, the next thing, and he was a choir director. Like, no, I beg, this one we don't get picking. I beg you. This one only God know what they do for outside. And then the sister that I was dating, that one, I clearly know. I can beat my chest. I will never forget. I know she has done 6 abortions. 6. But you see that one to make that one head of choir in the other branch. And this one that decided not to do the abortion.
Yeah.
Decided not to do the abortion to born the pikin. You see him as the devil. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think the society needs to do better. And the society also needs to start understanding that these women that we have, you see, most our women know they show themselves for Nigeria. They don't. They show themselves when they relocate. Because of how we treat them here.
Yes.
How you treat them here. Then why you go see people they talk say, when you in London, no marry, bring, come there. When they come, then go show you.
Damn.
Because it's like our men are proud of the patriarchal society that we have.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, not talk.
No, but you're correct. I see that a lot. And that's why we're doing a lot of advocacy even in the diaspora right now. To say that as men, you have to understand that it's not. Because they say a man has ego. Say every human being has got ego.
Everyone.
So you need to understand that washing plates or doing dishes. In fact, it starts with a narrative. When a man is mopping the house, he says he's helping his wife. I say no, you're not helping your wife. You're keeping your family clean.
Exactly.
Right. And so those are the conversations we need to begin to have. He babysits. He said, I'm helping my wife. Whose child? Is your child? You're helping yourself. So those are narratives we have to begin to shift and advocate for. But like what we're saying, if you're a single mother, please find a male figure that can be a model for your boy and can have interaction with your boy. It will do a world.
So there was something you said, about being a bad husband, a bad partner, and being a good father. Now we are in the same house, and I see you talk about mirroring as well. And I see how you treat my mom. In my mind already, you're a bad person. If I'm seeing it. You don't need to start now convincing me.
Yeah.
So, is it possible? Is it really, really possible for somebody to be a bad husband and a good father? Because the child is seeing what you're doing to the mother.
And
The child is seeing what you're doing to the mother.
to the outsiders, you are the perfect.
And to add to that question, parent, children, women, because I say this all the time on my radio show, women that are in abusive marriages and they tell you they can't leave because the children make me stay here. What do you say to either the women or the men?
So
in addition to her question.
So I hope I don't forget your. So let me talk to you about the man is a bad spouse to you.
Yeah, you're a bad person. You're a bad person.
No, you're
and
not
I'm
a bad
seeing
person. You're a bad person. It's like saying that if you're a bad accountant, then you're a bad man.
Okay.
No, one is role, one is identity.
Okay.
I can be a bad accountant. I saw the accounting, but I will make a very terrible accountant.
I can't eat.
So, but the child is seeing him.
Right. And so that's the thing. Wherein you are, and I'll give you an example. There was a time, my dad and my mom, their marriage was good. But I saw them, exchange words. They never be themselves. And so one day I was trying to, I felt, because my dad was a typical African man, and I felt, why are you talking to your wife like this? And I waded in and I talked to him. And I said, no, you shouldn't be talking to my mom like this. And And I walked out on him. Guess who knocked on my door? My mom. She said, go and apologize to your dad. And I was like, Mom, I was standing for you. He said, no, it's your dad. It's my husband.
Okay, now.
From that day, I said I will not put my... You see, the ideal is when the man is a good man, is a good husband, and is a good father. But you don't always have that, right? And so in narrative management, so for example, I work with women who says, my husband is cheating on me. And so that makes him a bad man. And I ask them, what is good about him? Oh, there's nothing. You follow. So I can write on left side, write what is good, write what is bad. On what is bad, they write like 5 things. And I'll give you the things they write. He's an adulterous. 1. He follows everything in skirt.
He comes back late.
No.
Okay.
He follows everything in skirt. He cannot keep his hand off strange women.
The same thing.
They write the same thing in like 7
manifesting
to make it look long. Then write what is good about him. They never repeat the same thing twice. Right? So they'll tell you, he is a responsible father. He pays school fees. So he's hands-on with his children. He's very, very competent at work. Right? So I said to them, in creating a narrative, because you see, whatever you magnify, you exaggerate. And that becomes your reality. So you are dealing with a man who is cheating. Yes, he's cheating. But you see, as a professional, I won't look at what he's doing. I will look at why and how. Because why gives you a root cause analysis. How shows you the pattern. What is where judgment is. And what is often what we look at.
Yes.
Right. So I'm looking at what is doing right and say, okay, so let's create a narrative. My husband is an excellent man. You say he's cheating, who is presently troubled, but on his way to wholeness. Right? And so what that does is you don't look at him and reduce the totality of his life to adultery. Because that's not all there is about him.
Exactly.
But that's what we do oftentimes. Right? And so that's why if you understand that the role of a husband is different from the role of a father. And that's why in co-parenting, we always say in marriage is, when I'm doing co-parenting session with couples, co-parenting is a movie on its own. It's called co-parenting. A marriage that has ended is another movie entirely. Your role and your scripting and your casting in the 2 roles are totally different because the main cast, there's only one actor in co-parenting, and that's the child. Everything must be done in the best interest of the child. If the 2 of you don't see eye to eye, you must pretend that you see eye to eye when you go for visiting day. Right? Because you need to get into character. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to rekindle old flames and now say you are in love. You don't have to be in love after marriage has ended based on trauma. You can't bring that trauma to co-parenting. So when I see people say, I am the father and I'm the mother, you now wear trousers as a lady, you say, I'm looking at what's happening.
King.
Right? You cannot do that. Right? So what in an ideal situation, what you have described, however, if that were to be the case, the question I'm asking is, who do both of you defer to? Because if not treating you well, and some of the men who don't treat their wives right, you want to find out why are they doing it. You see, in my early days, before I now got more tools, add more tools, when I see a man who is beating a woman, right, the man will tell me, it's my weakness. I say, no, it's not weakness, it's wickedness. Because if it's a weakness, it must manifest everywhere you go. And when you see mopo, you don't slap a mopo.
Yes, now.
Right? And so what I used to do those days is that I would register those women with taekwondo lessons.
Defense, self-defense.
No, it's not self-defense. That's not even what I'm doing.
What if she
I would
first?
ensure that they train to black belt level. So, and when you are graduating as a black belter, they will do an event where you will do something with sparring partner. And usually the person is big, huge. So I'll say, invite your husband.
What if she hits him first?
Eh?
What if
she's not going to hit him? Because even in self-defense taekwondo, they will tell you don't.
No, not in taekwondo. What if that was what led to her? That was what led to him hitting her.
So we'll come to that. Now, when the men come to those events and they see the manifestation, right? They suddenly realize they don't have capacity to beat anymore. True. Right? Because you beat people because you think you can beat them. If your wife is a lieutenant colonel in the army, You won't beat her,
Oh,
no matter how
beard.
angry you are. Do you get? So it means your anger is a respecter of person. So let's make the person you are dealing with that person that you can respect. Do you get? Right. And so Nedum's question, sorry, I will come to you. What was his question?
I've forgotten.
Sorry.
I think it was about domestic violence as well, or something.
Yeah. Children that are in the
Yes, women that decide to stay back because of their children.
men and women
A lot
also.
of women decide to stay back, but you see, that's why I respect Lagos State government. Lagos State government has
Lagos State
created
government is
a
doing
system.
great.
Unfortunately, all the states have not replicated it.
Yes.
Wherein, even if you decide to stay back, we will not allow you to kill yourself because we assume you want to commit suicide.
Yes.
Right? So you can be moved away. And you see, the question is, why do women stay back? At the point of marriage, when your father says to you, as you're getting married now, there's no room for you in this house anymore. Right? So a lot of women want to die. And then there is a school of thought that says, commit suicide into God's hand. Enter war room. I've seen people get killed in the war room. Right? Because
Even before the war.
yeah, people get killed.
Don't die before
And
the war.
so then you have a situation where the man has beaten this woman, and then people will say, oh yeah, go back. We've seen people die that way. So we always say, if they tell you go back, don't go back. Right? I tell my daughter, you always have a room in this house, no matter where you go. Because home must always be where safety is. Right? So if they beat you, we have given you out in marriage, if that marriage is not working, please
Don't come back home.
Come back home. We will accept you here. Right? And so we need to help women by telling them. The biggest problem right now is a lot of women don't leave because of economic reasons. Because they're thinking, where am I going to get a house?
Yes.
What will people say? And the way we demonize people who are divorced is a problem in this part of the world. Divorce is very simple. A relationship that has not worked, people have a right to leave. In fact, we go as far as telling them, God cannot use you again. God cannot.
God hates divorce.
Some guy was telling me,
I see that thing.
that God cannot use anybody who divorced. And so it was a pastor who is a friend. And so I said to him, so I noticed that he had Kenneth Copeland as his spiritual father. So I said to him, it's interesting that Kenneth Copeland is your father. Are you aware that
It's a different thing.
that's his third marriage? He said, no, that I'm blah, 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 blah. I said, Google is your friend. So he went to check and realized that Sister Gloria was his third marriage. And I said, he wasn't born again. I said, but why are you talking against other people? Right? We need to understand that not every marriage will work. And when it doesn't work, that a marriage doesn't work does not mean that the two people are guilty, or one person is a bad person there. No, marriage stops working when one person decides not to align. Right? So should they kill themselves? Okay, now that they've gone themselves, should they not have another life to fall in love again and move on?
What of those that quote Malachi 2:16?
That what?
For the Lord hates divorce.
And the Lord does not take divorce as a forced option. Go and read the original translation.
The Lord, does not take
consider
divorce.
divorce as a first
Best
option.
So now
which means it's an
translation.
option.
Yes, it's a translation issue. So let's even assume that God, because the Bible talked about if you want to divorce someone, give them a certificate of separation. Is there? Is there in your Bible? In the same New Old Testament. So the challenge is this: people quote whatever is okay
What
by
suits them.
And I always say to people, you see, I've never had a toxic marriage. But someone is having a toxic marriage. I can't feel what. So when you say, I know what you're feeling, you don't know what they're feeling. And stop telling them you know what they're feeling, because you don't know how they get triggered when they see that person who is making their life miserable. How do you love someone and you take their matter to social media? How?
What of people that take their own matter themselves to social media? Like I don't want to mention names. Wife will take the matter to social media. Husband will marry and
Court
take their
public opinion.
Court of public opinion will now start saying, he shouldn't have left her like
It's the
that.
highest level of immaturity. If we want to separate, can we separate in peace? Right? And remain civil. In the US, I was working with a client one day, and she said to me, Praise, I need to quickly call, my husband's new wife to go, to my son's school. I said, what's happening here? He says open day. He said, but I'm in your session with you. So I said, your husband's new wife to go and do open day for your child. He said, by the way, she used to be my best friend, but she snatched my husband, and I was like, I said, and you want her to go and... He said, yeah, it's not a big deal. He said, well, they found love and they're okay. I'm happy by myself. My mind just raced back to Africa. To say, some people have transited the level we are in, and they've grown to a level of maturity where they understand that if this thing is not working, let's go our separate ways, but let's remain civil.
Wow.
But people are dying. There are people who are
not in Nigeria or Lagos.
There are people who are emotionally
poison the city
divorced,
market.
but they have remained in the relationship.
Trust my child.
And that's why we prioritize premarital counseling right now to say, you know what? I mean, Lagos State government passed into law that you must do premarital counseling. The entire curriculum they're using, I wrote it. The government didn't have a budget for it. I was in America. They told me they didn't have a budget. I said, I'll do it pro bono. It's a legacy project. And that was what I did. I flew in to come and train the people. Now they are giving the religious leaders in Lagos to do it. We wanted to do it nationwide, but they were just doing whatever they wanted to do.
Interesting.
Right? So it's important for people to get it right. But you see, when people show up at the point of marriage, the damage has already been done through parenting. So can we get people to parent right and raise wholesome children? If you raise your boy as a wholesome boy, you don't traumatize him. I raise my girl as a wholesome boy, I don't traumatize her. When they meet together, they won't have a problem. And even if they have issues, they know we mean well for them. And it's not that we'll take side, this one will take side, that one will take side. Yeah.
Talking about raising wholesome children, you know, a topic that is very, very touchy. And I mean, it has become imperative given how people turn out in society is sex education.
Yes.
We don't do over 2 hours. I know say, but this is really very important. And I hope that we can maximize, you know, whatever time we have left. You know, how best do you think parents can approach this subject and, you know, educate their children to know and make the right decisions?
I produced the most complete sexual education kit in this country, the first of its kind years ago, right? Because, I mean, all the commercial sex workers I work with, over 300 of them, there was not one single person who was not sexually molested. So
over 300
over
of them.
300. So I discovered a correlation between sexual abuse and learned helplessness. Because those girls were sleeping with 11 men every day to break even. So I knew that it wasn't a poverty issue anymore. For you to spread your life for 11 men, something has happened to your humanity and your identity. So I discovered that one of the advanced effects of abuse is learned helplessness, where you stop seeing yourself as a human being that must be respected and you start seeing yourself as a thing that must be used. So what did I do? I created What to Teach a Child About Sex from 18 months to 18 years. Right? And so there's What to Teach from 18 months to 3 years. And so I wrote songs, composed the songs, you know, so you have songs like My Body is My Friend and Is the House That I Live. It has two different parts called Private and Public. I will do just everything to protect my body because I love my body and my body loves me. Right? And when you're done with that, you teach your child, you know, public parts and private parts. I have my hair, it's my public parts. I have my eyes, I use it to see. My nose, my legs, and my hands are here. They all make up my public part. When you go to private part, I have my laps and lips and my private part. My breast and bum and my private part. For girls and the penis for boys, they all make up my private part. Then you teach them what you do to your private. As in, it was very creative. Now, from ages 4 to 6, you teach your children curiosity and eye because they're asking a lot of questions. And when they ask you where the baby come from, you can't say angel brought down the baby. You must call the private parts by their proper names, not Kokoro, not PP, not Jumbo, not all those funny things.
Or local government.
No.
Oh, my shingle.
So you teach 4 golden rules of the body. My body belongs to me and also belongs to God. Rule 1. Rule 2. I must report to my dad and mommy whatever happens to me. Rule 3. I have a right to say no to whatever I feel is wrong. Rule 4. Anybody that says I should not talk wants to destroy my future.
Hey.
Now, then you teach fire on the mountain. Bad movies, bad picture, bad song, bad friends. There's fire on the mountain. So run away. There's fire on the mountain. You know, so because if you get, and let me tell you what happened. When I started teaching this, there was a school, Redeemers International School, Ebutemeta. I remember they called me because they made it a subject. In fact, so many schools were offering a subject. And they called me that there was a particular boy, a girl, 2 girls. They went to visit their father's friend. And then they said, oh, the children should go into the room. So the son in the house was 13. They were 9 and 11. And the boy brought out his penis and asked them to perform blowjob. And they looked at him and they said,
13-year-old boy.
Yeah, and they said, this is your private part. You shouldn't. And they went to meet their father and said, we need to leave this house right now.
Good.
Right? And their father was really grateful. I was like, where did I say, oh, no, we took sexual education in school and they taught us this thing. Right? What if, because you see, the strength of the predator is the ignorance of your child.
The strength of the predator is the ignorance of your child.
The predator knows you would not have taught your child anything because, you know, sexuality is a taboo thing, you know. So the predator hits in and tells your child, don't tell mommy, don't tell daddy, mommy will die, daddy will die. And the child doesn't want you to die. So the child begins to warehouse whatever is being done to him. So when you empower your child against the predator, your child will by himself kick out the predator. That's what we need to do.
At this point,
Sorry, real quick.
Okay.
Real quick. You know, we were discussing earlier, and I mentioned something about sex education, the movie. What do you think about it? Do you think it teaches the values of sex?
Not exactly. So every movie has got an agenda, especially if it's coming from where I live.
Thank God you mentioned that. You will make heaven. I'll see to it.
Right? They've got an
your full
agenda.
names.
And so the agenda is subliminal. Movie is one of the most powerful ways to pursue an agenda because it bypasses your conscious resistance. Right? If evil is coming right now, I can see it. If it comes in a movie, there are so many good. It might just be one scene that will mess you up. Right? That's how it works. I don't think that thing teaches any such.
You did think?
I don't think.
Left alone. If you allow us, we'll go for hours. But
Our teacher is leaving us. We
don't.
don't know what to do. We should say
praise Fowowe. We are really very grateful.
Yeah.
And I am certain that everyone that has taken time and the patience to view this episode.
Before you go on, what is that last advice you're going to give to parents? What is that last advice you're going to give to kids? What is that last advice you're going to give to intending couples, male and female?
Let me start with parents to say that I appreciate what you've done. I know it's tough out there, but I want you to know that you're an African parent. You will never be an American parent, right? And you need to understand that within the confines of the African, we have African values, and that's one thing. Your children are never going to be Americans. They're never going to be British. They may have the passport and whatever, but at the core of their being, and that's what Indians have done. We need to promote our story. We need to curate our story, and we need to pass it down to our children and let them own it. And you see, don't be ashamed, to teach them your language because there is something that does to them, right? And so, above all, parenting can be learned. So don't do trial and error. Go learn what you need to do to be a better parent, all right? And having said that, I'm talking to children right now, and I want you to know that, you may say your parents are very hard. But you see, the hardest of all parents is still better than that guy who's trying to deceive you out there. Right? And so your parents mean well. How they are going about it may be wrong, but they mean well for you at the core. And that's why, scripture says a man that wanders away from home will rest in the assembly of the dead. Right? So everyone deceiving you, we're going to be there for you, we love you here, they don't really love you. Right? And so I'm going to say to you, please, cut your parents some slack. They are paying a whole big, huge price to send you to school. They're putting shelter above your head. They're buying you phones. They're doing things. Please, don't disappoint them and don't disgrace them. They want to be proud of you, right? And so if you have parents who are not listening to you, go and kneel down beside them and let them know that you really love them and you want them to trust you and you'll be trustworthy as well, okay? And for those who are not married, please get premarital information. Marry your kind. Don't marry opposites. They've said the first thing of a man is respect. The first thing of a woman is love. I've never seen a man who doesn't want to be loved, and I've never seen a woman who doesn't want to be respected. Right? Let's know that every human being needs love. Every human needs respect, and let's respect everyone. Right? But beyond that, heal from whatever trauma you must have been subjected to. Right? If you have had toxic relationship in the past, don't just assume that marriage is going to resolve that. Please get help. There are so many family life coaches around. And please, I'm emphasizing family life coaches because some of you go to psychiatrists or you go to psychologists. Some of them are not totally trained in family science, but they can help you. But if you have that option of following someone who understands family science, please, especially if you have certification in family systems engineering certification, that will do you a world of good because they work with framework to help you. Take assessments. Assessment psychometric tests are available in Nigeria. It would show you a whole lot, including what the guy or the lady is lying about. It will pick it. And then you can decide whether you want to go ahead or not.
A lot of people would want to reach out to you.
Yes.
I know right now they're itching. How do we contact you? So how are they going to contact you? Social media? Is that a phone number? How do they reach you?
Yeah, they can send a mail to Tolani at iampraisefowowe.com.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to reach me. But I'm on social media. I am Praise Fowowe on Instagram. You can slide into my DM. Then we'll tell you what you need to do. I think that's the best way to reach out to us.
Okay.
I beg, just if share this episode to a parent. Any other thing we person add for they do too much. share this episode to a parent and beg them to take their time to watch.
Yes.
Like we said in the beginning, this thing are waiting people they pay money for to learn. And that's why the Honest Bunch podcast, now we be number one, now we be the best.
Yes, sir.
And let me now warn. I want to warn.
Chineke.
Yeah, I have to warn. You see all those people that will say, every time they will, can you at least get, even if it's 60 seconds from this episode, and on your own, share it on social media, even if not for your story. Make people see them. Because we have episodes that are impacting life. All our episodes are impacting life, are life-changing. Don't allow blogs that don't curate their own content, who are looking for traffic, to carry something, join it together, and post it with accompanying caption that doesn't make any sense. Don't make me emotional now.
I mean, I'm 100% in support of what Osman Material is saying, because a lot of people are running with this narrative that the Honest Bunch is a controversial podcast. It is not a controversial podcast. A lot of people that are a niche audience, they know, they come, they learn, and they move. The truth is, if negative comments, if bad things festers for long, it becomes a good thing. If we allow people, naysayers, if we allow people that are run with the 30 seconds clip, that run with the snippets that we intelligently cut and put out to run with those narratives, and we don't say anything, we're going to allow whatever it is that they're saying to stand. If you watch the episode, whichever part hits you most, cut it, 30 seconds, 1 minute, post it on your page.
Tag.
No, you don't gotta tag us. If you want to tag us, beautiful. Post it on your WhatsApp status, send it on your Instagram, whatever. But please speak the word. Make them understand this is a family podcast. This is a podcast where our podcast when they be say people now school where they learn. Special thanks, thank you. Special thank you to ID Kabasa. Thank you, ID Kabasa. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank
A
you.
round of applause for Praise Fowowe.
Thank you.
God
And
bless
he's
you, sir.
still of beautiful ladies.
Yes.
Okay.
Beautiful ladies.
May God imbue you with even
Amen.
greater creativity.